All day we're showing you 50 tips in Adobe Creative Cloud. Let's hop onto my screen and show you the first in Adobe Illustrator, and then we'll say hi. So if you're in Illustrator, you can come over to the rectangle tool. Click and hold on that, and you're going to go to the polygon tool. From there, click and drag out, and you will make your polygon. But if you hit the arrow keys while you are clicking and dragging, it will add a side or detract a side from your polygon. So super easy way to make a triangle, or just use that up and down arrow to increase the levels of your polygon. So that's your first one. We've got 20 more coming in this stream, and then 30 more later today, 10 sprinkled in between. There's over 50 tips today, so stick around all day. Let's say hi. How about that?
Hello, Andrew. Oh my goodness. Welcome to Adobe Live. Good morning. We've got coffee.
Good morning.
I'm Anna Davis-Court. I'm going to be hosting the man, the myth, the legend, Andrew Hochrattle. Woo! So much energy already to start the day, and a tip. I'm so excited because this is a tip-heavy episode. We've got so many great things to share across a ton of different Adobe Creative Cloud everything. We've got so many friends in the chat already. We've got Alessandra saying hello. We've got Clever Devlin. We've got Oliver Andrews. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Shout out where you're coming from across the world and what you are hoping to learn today. And definitely drop some tips in the chat if you have any to share.
Yes.
So.
All right, so we got number one was
Yes.
the polygon tool. That was a great hack, one of my favorites. Number two, completely unrelated, and we are going to get into a workflow, but I just thought of this one and I'm going to count it as number two. If you are using the arc tool, have you ever used the arc tool in Illustrator?
Never.
Okay, so we're used to using the line tool or the pen tool to kind of create your line. Let me put a stroke on this so that we can actually see it. That's good for live stream, right? Being able to see things. So we're gonna make a line here, and you can see that is just adding in that line. So if you want to use the arc tool, it's a really great way to go from one point to another, and you click and drag, and you can see that it's just pulling out that arc for you, which is really cool. So if you're working on the arc tool, I'm just clicking and holding this as I go. Again, we can always use that up and down arrow, and it is going to increase or decrease the amount of curve that is happening on that arc.
Wow, you see it live and you can make it that perfect. You don't have to like finagle the points.
Yes, you don't have to mess with anything. So again, you can just use the up and down arrows. And if you're using a tool, click and hold that tool and then hit the up and down arrows, the left and right arrows, and see what happens. Because most tools in Adobe Illustrator have extra options that you can access by hitting those left and right or up and down arrows.
Nice.
Magic,
Easy
right?
peasy.
All right. Let's go in and let's create a polygon. And today we're going to be working on a brand for a hotel.
Ooh.
Which is gonna be fun. I'm quite partial to like the hotel key tags.
Yes.
Of like the 50s, 60s. They were all different shapes. They were all different
Retro.
sizes. So we're gonna be creating a lot of those today. And again, continuing on with each of those tips and tricks. I'm gonna put on you to maybe keep count and see how many we can get to. Chat, you also on
The person
that.
who's bad at math. Okay,
Yes.
let's do this.
Chat's gonna be on that. So I think we're at 2 now. Oh, here,
I need
hold on.
Post-it notes.
I can give you a Post-it note.
He always keeps Post-it notes on the ready. This is
I
one
do.
of his tricks.
And here is my red pen. All right. So we are at, I think, 2.
2.
Chat, are you ready for the third?
I'm gonna do
Too bad.
tallies.
It's happening. All right, so we're going to create a polygon here. And just like I said, I can click and drag, and this is too many. This is an 8-sided polygon, which is also known as...
Stop.
We did it. But we're going to go today. We're going to go, go, go. So we are going to take this down, and I think that I want it to be like this, which is a... Hexagon? Yes, hexagon.
I love
You also know the
question
question.
mark.
Yes. Something else that you can do if you are working with the polygon tool is you can hold shift and that will actually lock it so that it scales from the center and it's not turning and moving any weird shape, weird way. Also, if you hit, where's the button? Where's the button that I want? Oh, it's one of these chat. Oh, I don't remember the hotkey. There's another hotkey that lets you scale it from the point instead of the center.
Nice.
I've missed a tip for you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. Oh,
one is
we're taking
put
one
it.
away.
Yeah, put it in the L. Put it in the L column. So we're just gonna make this polygon real quick. And if you want to change the stroke and the fill of an object, you can hit Shift and X, and it will change the stroke and fill. So we're gonna do that. And here is tip number. I don't think that one counts. Here's tip number 4. This is an actual tip. Tip number 4 is going to be that you can scale anchor points, right? So we all know that we can scale shapes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's scale a shape.
What
We click and
happens when we
drag.
scale it?
Oh, oops. Let's go from the other side. Click and drag, right? We can scale a shape. Great. But if I wanted to, I want to create like a really cool, unique shape here with this for a hotel key tag. I'm going to do this nice green color. And what I'm going to do is instead of the selection tool, I'm going to grab the direct selection tool, grab the top ones, and hold shift to also grab the bottom ones. Now I'm going to grab the scale tool right over here. And you'll see as I scale, it's not scaling the whole shape, it's just scaling those anchor points.
Very nice.
Right? So I'm gonna create a really cool kind of motel key tag look.
It already looks like what do they call it? Mod
Yes.
or something?
Exactly.
What do you call it? Oh gosh. I know the style because my sister-in-law loves it.
Okay, so I'm going to create a couple here because I think that was an interesting, and this is really fun when you're working with geometry to create copies of things, and I'm just holding Option and Shift there. But I know I want to do that mod kind of thing, so I'm going to grab these points and then just pull them over to create that very like coffin mod kind of shape.
Mid-century modern.
Mid-century modern, thank
Boom.
you. Yes. Oh, which is mod short for modern? Like
Gotta be, right?
Mid-mod?
Mid-mod, but then we see it as retro because it was
Mid-mod.
modern then.
Yes.
But now.
So we are going to use the direct selection tool to grab the anchor points just on the left side. And then you can see right here that it's actually scaling from this point. So if you want to, you can grab this and scale from a different point. Now it's actually scaling right to that point. So you can get some really weird shapes. I hate that. I didn't like it. So I'm going to...
It was like perspective, though. It was like
Yes.
it was receding into the distance, which would be really cool if you're trying to create a grid of some sort. Or
Yes. Which I think that this shape is really interesting for a key tag too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird and wonky, but like kind of cool.
It gives the feeling of an imposing building almost. So it's like hotel.
Oh, the
Boom,
perspective
there
is
it
there.
is.
You're right.
Yeah.
Ooh, we can do some cool type there.
I like it.
Ooh, that's going to be another tip. Okay.
Wait, I've lost count already.
Coming at you. I think there's only been one since we last tallied. Okay. Excuse me. So now what we're going to do is on this one, we are going to do the traditional like rounded hotel key tag kind of thing.
Okay.
So I'm just going to hit A, which is the direct selection tool, and we can grab these and kind of round them out a little bit. But here is tip number 7. What you can do, what you can do is with this rounding, as you click and drag to round your corners, you can actually hit which arrows? What will we do?
Is it up, down?
It's up and down. That's right. You can hit up and down, and it's going to change the scallop on those edges. So this doesn't look great for this example, but let's create one so it'll be a little bit of a better example. Let's say that we just have a key tag that we want to look like a postcard. Very easy. We can grab the edges, and instead of rounding them, I'm going to hit the down arrow, and it's going to give me different edges. So now I have this cool little scallop, right? That might be for like the Continental. Like this feels like an expensive key tag.
Absolutely. Instantly.
We got 3 shapes very quickly, and all of these are basic shapes that have just had a couple of those tips and tricks added to them, which is really cool. All right, let's go ahead and create a little bit more of a scallop on this edge, because I think it'd be interesting to do like a...
Love it. Yeah,
right?
Just make it whoopy.
Yeah. Tip number 8.
Be whoopy.
Be whoopy. Yes, tally it. All right, so what we're going to do is a really easy way to do this is if you wanted to create like that scalloped edge, there's a million different ways to do it. This is how I like to do it. You can do it a different way. That's fine. But maybe we'll fight. All right, so I'm going to make a circle here, and I'm going to make this a different color just so we can see it. I'm going to make one circle here, and I'm just thinking about what I want these scallops to look like. So I'm going to say I want the scallops to start at this point, and then come all the way over here and end at this point, right? Mm-hmm. So we are going to group these together and then align them to the center right here. So we're aligning to the center of the shape. Now...
That was on the top bar?
Yes, top bar is aligned right here. And so from now, we are going to, think about this with me, we are going to think about how many other scallops we want in between these two. So when you're working with scallops, the first one, the last one, and then how many do we fit between the two? So let's do this. We're going to go to Edit. Sorry, we are going to go to Object. We are going to go to Blend, and then we are going to go to Blend Options. So the blend options, we are going to do specified steps, and here maybe I want to have 3 scallops in between. So hit OK. Now we're going to say start at this one, end at that one, and create a blend. So we're going to go to Object, Blend, Make, and check it out. Now we have all of those perfectly spaced, perfectly even, and then we can do it down on the bottom as well. Just click and drag down here.
Wow.
All right, so now we are going to do tip number 10. Look at this. I promised you 10. We're already there, and it's like 10 minutes in. So what we're going to do now is we are going to outline these or expand them. And that's going to allow me to cut these out of the bottom shape. So we're going to go to Object and Expand with both of those blends selected. Hit OK, and check it out. We have all those as shapes now.
Also, by the way, in the chat, they're talking about ants on a log, which is clearly the inspiration for this.
Oh, it is ants on a log.
Clever Devlin and Reverb Mike are pulling it out, saying, hey, here's the visual representation. I like the way you think.
Yes. Okay, hold on. I got you. Okay, so what we're going to do.
He's like, yes.
Since we're talking about ants on a log, what we're going to do is I am going to make a line right here. And you know what? Let's make a line using the line tool. And we are just going to make a line straight through the middle. This is a great hack if you're trying to create kind of a peanut buttery swirl effect. So check this out.
When you obviously want to do that.
Anytime. This is really good for water. Anytime you need to make a wiggly line, this is the best way to do it. So we're going to make that a pretty thick line and then go over to Effect. We're going to go to Stylize. Nope, we're going to go to Distort and Transform and then click on ZigZag. And that is going to give us all the zigs and zags that we want. So we want to do smooth for that peanut butter look. And then we can increase the size. And this is going to increase the size of kind of the swirl.
Yes.
And then we also can do rides per segment. So we're going to do more swoops or you can do less swoops, right? So maybe we just want a little swoop right there.
It's like toothpaste.
Yes, hit OK. And then I am going to add in that nice little edge right there.
Nice.
There you go. Ants on a log.
Instant representation.
There you go.
This is the hotel I want to stay at, by the way. That's what they give you at the counter instead of a warm cookie. It's
honestly, Ants on a Log feels like it could be a name for a hotel.
Absolutely.
But
why don't we do this?
Yes, the name of the hotel is Ants, and then the street is Log Street. And so it's like Ants on the Log. All right. Right? It feels feels ritzy and fancy.
Very bougie.
So we're going to select all of these, and then we are going to go to tip number whatever. Our next tip, that's how I should transition this. We're going to go to our next tip. We are going to click on the Shape Builder tool. And with all of these selected, as I hover over, you can see that there are like these little pieces. Mm-hmm. Now, with the Shape Builder tool, when you don't press anything, left hand in the air, right hand on the mouse. So if you don't press anything and you click and drag, it's just going to add stuff together. So let's do that first. Again, left hand in the air, over your heart, wherever you want it to be. And I'm just going to click and drag over all the parts that I want to be one shape. I literally am doing this wrong. But it is now going to make it one shape, right? So that was the example of how to use the additive. But in this case, we want to use subtractive, right? Mm-hmm. There we go. We're getting 2 tips out of this one. So what we can do is with my left hand, I'm going to be hitting the Option key. So this time, left hand's not in the air. It's going to be on the Option key. And I'm going to click and drag. And you'll see as I click and drag, it has that little minus. Anything that is highlighted right now is going to go away.
Ooh.
So super easy way, instead of using the Pathfinder tool, you can set up everything using blends, make sure it's nice and geometric, and then we just come through and click through these.
Oh, he's deleting the ants.
And goodbye, ants. There we go. And now we have this very cool kind of like scalloped key tag.
Love it.
And I'm probably going to round these corners just a little bit because I think that that could look cool.
It's so funny how easily abstracted shapes bring things to mind. It becomes representational so quickly. I saw like a movie ticket stub like torn off.
Yes.
And like stamps, they have those scalloped edges.
Yes.
What else do you see, chat? Because I'm coming up with like a million things as he's changing every little shape.
I like that it's turning into like the gosh, what's the word I want? Like looking at the clouds. You're like, all right, what do you see in this shape?
Is it a bear? Is it a turtle? Is it a planet hurtling towards us?
Okay, this is what I want, and it's like a lantern now.
Yes,
right?
Beautiful.
A holly leaf, yes.
Ooh.
All right, so let's move into some other tips and make this start looking like a hotel key tag. I am going to do a little trick here that I like to do, and we are going to be designing in grayscale, and I'll show you why in the future. So I'm going to think of the contrast that I need. I probably want the background to be a little bit dark, and then we are going to put in this nice little punch out right here. We're just going to make that white for now. And then let's start adding in some type and some different shapes and stuff.
Do we have a name for this hotel yet?
We don't. Chat, I need a name for this hotel that we're going to be working at right now. I do like ants on a log. I think that's really fun. So
cute.
let's start here with ants on a log. And then chat, give us some more names because we are going to be making more of these key tags.
Think of the theming that could go with it. So
Yes.
something that could be fun to represent in graphic design kind of terms.
Yes, and I'm going to go ahead and just make a nice outline on this. These are simple things. These aren't tips and tricks. These are just going to be some aesthetics. You can align to different sides.
I'm still going to count it.
Y'all know that. Okay. I'll count it. All right, so let's go ahead and add in some type here. So I'm going to do, actually, this is going to be a great example. So we're going to do ants, and I am just going to choose a font. Actually, this will be a tip. So if you're looking for the right font, which is what we're doing, we can go in here and click on filters. And then I know that I want, you know what? Let's do like a cool black letter old style. Ooh.
Ooh, yes. These are fun. Sorry, there was a really good one. It was Adobe Abode.
Love that. Love that. Oh, actually, I'm going to do that here. That's going to be such a great idea here. I have an idea.
Love it.
Okay, cool. So we're doing ants, and this is going to be on a log. I'm just going to...
Ants. Do you remember the movie Ants? It was DreamWorks, I believe.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because that had a very specific typeface as well for the name of the movie, and I wonder if it's like, I don't know, copyrighted or something, or trademarked, like...
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, like the custom type. All right, so this font here... It's my font. If you want it, send me a DM. I'll give it to you. It's called Quokka.
Oh, I love it. How'd you come up with the name?
I really liked the Q in this font, and I wanted something to showcase it.
That.
And so I named it Quokka.
What a great idea.
And I like the K, I think, too. Yeah. I just felt like it was a fun little look. All right. Ants on a log. This all looks good to me. So what I'm going to do is I actually don't like some of the tracking here. And I think that I want ants on a log to have a little bit more like...
Jauntiness?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it's ants on a log, then we need to have a little bit more of a jauntiness.
Yes.
So what I could do is I could outline this text and then come in here and start rotating things, right? And make it a little more jaunty. But I can't change it. I can't make any augment. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo that. And this is your next tip, is to use the touch type tool. That's what it's called. We're going to open up the character panel hitting Control-T, and then we're going to go to the touch type tool right here. So clicking on the touch type tool, now we can select each of these letters and each of these pieces, and it is going to allow us, right, to move these without augmenting or messing things up.
Make it wonky.
And we can make it just a little bit wonky, have some fun with it.
I believe Christy said add legs to ants. Imagine if there were little ants carrying the letters away.
That's pretty fun.
Everything's cute.
That's pretty fun. Okay, so we can do that and use the touch type tool to kind of make it a little bit wonky, and I really like that. I think that's fun.
Very adorable.
All right, and I'm gonna do some alignment here. We're going to select those, select the object we want to align to, and then you can click on the object and you see the outside gets a little bit thicker. Mm-hmm. Now we can just align right there, and I'm gonna group these into the center.
As a mostly Photoshop user, I am very jealous whenever things just align so easily. Yes. It's just like, boop, boop, boop.
It's pretty magical. Okay, so then what I also wanna do is maybe I want to do... we'll do that in the next one. Right?
Secret.
Yes. So here is tip number, your next one.
I think we're up to 13.
Yes. Okay. So what you can do if you're working on a design like this, you can work in grayscale. And so I'm going to add in a couple more little elements here. And maybe I want some of these like little blocks. I'm going to make them a little bit lighter. Here.
By the way, we've got an influx of people in the chat. Just want to say hello to everyone. Shout out if you have ever made any kind of graphic design logos for brands or anything like that, or want to. And if you've used Illustrator for it, I'm curious. How many Illustrator users in the chat?
Ooh, yes, that's a great question. And I'm using the trick there that we just learned, and I am scaling using just those bottom little angles right there.
So this is a reiteration of a past tip.
Yes. So just scaling the top ones and then grabbing and scaling. What's really cool, chat, if you want to do that on multiple things, check this out. I know I want to scale the bottom of this one and the top of this one. And so you can grab both of those and it will scale them both out from that point. Pretty cool, right?
Very cool.
And I actually want to get the bottom of this one and then the bottom of this one, and it's going to scale out both of those at the same angle for me, which is pretty cool.
It almost feels like slots in a locker.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Nail slots or something.
Yep. All right, so we're just going to align those here. And you can see we've only got 3 colors going on here, so not a lot. But what I like to do is I will actually take these and I will grab the shape of the whole thing. So what I'll do is just grab all of this and copy and then Control-C, go to Edit and Paste in Place. That is going to allow me to paste everything on top here. And then I'm going to go up to Object. Oh, I hit my mouse. Going to go up to Object and Expand Appearance just to make sure everything is expanded. Then I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool, which is actually in the Properties panel if you want to use it right here, down at the bottom, right there. And it makes the whole shape over.
Oh.
Why do you think the reason is
gone.
that we have a shape over the whole grayscale image?
Grayscale image. Is this a way to control color?
Yes, it's a great way to control color. So if you're looking
like such
to
a good
create,
student.
yes, if you're looking to create like a monotone look, I can just make this top object a nice blue. So let's do blue for this one. And I think it actually has to be green because it's ants. So you can see we have our design under there, but then we have above it a nice color block, and we just change the blend mode to multiply, or you can change the blend mode to color burn. And then we're getting a nice kind of color scheme
Lovely.
based on those tones. So this is great for monochrome color schemes, and we are going to do like a nice green. And I think that that looks great, right?
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. I also think the type, I want to make the type brown, but I'm not going to because I don't think it would, we need contrast there. So more tips for you. Use that shape on top of everything just to make it kind of cohesive and look good. All right. I'm going to take a drink of water.
Please
Let's have
do.
a chat.
I wanted to actually shout out a few people who are saying they are avid Illustrator users. We've got Christy who said that she created a retro ducky for a brand. That is so cute sounding. RB, Kendall, and Vida were all just fans of Illustrator. Love to hear it, you guys. And there were some more stories in the chat that have gone by, but I love hearing how you use it and how you use it for brands. Also, I think Bruce said that this looks like a key tag.
It does. That's what we're trying to do. Yes, we're trying to make some key tags. If you're just joining us, yes, we're trying to make some branding for hotels to do some key tags, and then we're gonna take them into Adobe Express, and I'm gonna see if I can do like a cool like little zoom in lineup depending on how many we can get through.
Absolutely.
All right, on to the next one, the Adobe Abode. This is a suggestion from the chat. This is a fun one. Let me grab the right font. What do you think we want to go with here?
Something different,
Yes.
especially to fit this kind of, you were talking about having perspective kind of read through the font choice, right?
Yes.
So something that's going to read very strong. And
I agree.
even if your perspective is warped, it's
Yes.
still going to look like the font.
And what's cool is if we wanted to, you can come over here and with this text selected, you can actually scroll through and it'll give you a live preview. So I know that I want this to be in all caps, so I'm going to do that.
Nice.
Abode.
Wait, how do you spell it?
Stressful. And I do want something that is like very chunky and bold and very geometrical?
Geometrical. I like it. Yeah, I think that's a good
Is there
idea.
an all at the end? I think it's just geometric. That's what we want. Yes.
It just makes me think of Majestical, if you've ever seen
Majestical.
Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yes.
It's Majestical.
Okay, so I'm going to make these two separates just to be sure.
Nice.
And what I want to do is I want to like put it at perspective and do it this way, right?
Oh, I love it.
It's going to be pretty cool. Do we flip it? That's going to be crazy.
It's going to be, this is very close to being unreadable if it's too close to each other. That's the only thing I would worry about, because being able to see, like, I'm slightly dyslexic. So seeing like, okay, the B and the D is like, what is happening? Is my brain breaking?
This is out of the question. I'm not mad about this. Like, it's really hard to read, but it's kind of cool, right?
I feel like I can read it better when I just like look at it straight on than like tilting and
Okay.
like, trying like that.
Yeah, I agree, actually. Okay, so we're going to do this. Love this. And somebody's saying a key card for hotel, key tags are long gone. Oh, no. Go to like Palm Springs or like a little boutique. They always have the cute little key tags.
Just go to bougier places. That's always the solution to everything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this one. And I want to create a perspective. Now, there are a couple different ways that we could do this. And the first way...
Is this a tip?
Yeah, sure. The tip here is going to be think about things in pieces. Think about breaking things into pieces and then using those pieces for other things. So we are going to just grab the shape that we've created here. And again, Control-C. My goodness. I was reading, chat, you have no idea how hard it is to read and talk. And I was reading the word you can hold shift and type vertically as I was talking about key. Okay.
I think this is the hottest tip of all. Control-C.
Control-C.
How?
Okay.
Why?
So we can go to edit and copy. Oops, right here. And then we're going to go to edit and paste in place. So paste in place is going to paste it right on top of the shape. And now I want to break this into two shapes. And we're going to use the line tool and the Pathfinder one more time.
Very nice.
So we're going to align a line right to the middle here all the way down, and then select our shape right here. We're going to go to the Pathfinder tool, and we are going to use this tool right here. Oh, actually, the tool that I need is under, there we go. It's under there. I want to go to the Divide tool. What that's going to do is it's going to take all the shapes and split them into separate shapes. So when I click on it, now this is actually two separate shapes.
Oh, nice.
Which is what we want, right? And if we want that cool perspective, right? You can see very easily we get that cool perspective.
Instantly.
So what I want to do is I actually want the type to match that perspective, but I want it to...
I know, they're still laughing at Control-C.
They're still laughing. It's all
Where's
right.
Control-E?
It's all right, chat. I'm going to take a drink.
Control non-binary? Where are they?
Okay, so we are going to use both of these shapes. So you can see that they are separate shapes now if I ungroup them real quick. We got 1 and 2 right here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to actually use these as guides. So I'm going to send backwards. So you can right click and go to Arrange and send backward, or you can hit Command and use the bracket to send it backward, and we're just going to send it behind our type.
Oh, nice.
And now we're going to use a tip, and there are two different ways that we can do this. The first is going to be going to Object and then going to Path and Offset Path. So you'll see right there, it is giving me a new shape so that I can pull it in from the edges, but still maintain that perspective.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to hit OK. And now you see we actually have two shapes. We have the inside one and we have that background shape.
Nice.
Not what we want. Well,
wait.
it could be what we want. It's good, but it could be not what we want so much. So what we can do is we can actually use this shape and we can go over to the Appearance panel. And the same thing is in the effects right here. So we can go to Effects and we can go to Path, Offset Path. And now, as I move that, it's actually going to give me one shape, but it's maintaining the shape that you have, but augmenting it so that you can use that little piece right there. So what I'm going to do is use this as kind of a background perspective.
Okay.
And we're going to have this at 20 of an offset. And I still have that shape, so I'm going to copy and paste one more time. And this time, I'm going to change that offset path right here to 40. Oops. And you'll see if I make that a different color, it has made another shape for me right there.
Oh, wow.
So I can go to Object and Expand Appearance. And now that offset path is its own shape. So if you want to maintain your shape, you can just use the Appearance panel. If you want to expand it, you also can use the Expand on the Appearance panel. So
this is the first I'm hearing of the Appearance panel.
the Appearance panel is so good. And it's new and it's good. It's newer and it's good.
Okay, excellent.
So what we can do
Good to hear.
is we are going to go now with both of these selected. So we have our type selected, which I'm going to make white, and our shape selected. And we're going to go to Object, Envelope Distort, and Make with Top Object. This is a great hack for creating perspective with your type. We're going to do that and watch what happens. Boom.
Whoa.
So what it's going to do is it is going to take your type and then smash it into whatever the
bounding boxes.
Bounding boxes, yeah. And it will fill the entire bounding box.
Fantastic.
And what's cool is if I wanted to, yes, I had to make sure this is going to work.
Do I want to?
Yeah. What I can do is I can actually just copy this, Control C, paste in place. And then we are going to transform and reflect across the same side. Hit OK. Yeah. And then align it to the center. And that way we have... Why are you not lining to the center
Adobe.
Adobe.
Anthony Jackson says, type powers.
Yes.
Absolutely. And Christy says, magic.
Yes. And then I can actually, this is still live type. So because I used that envelope distort, we can go in and click on it. And now I can do this. Oops.
I like it. Having one letter off.
Welcome to the Adobe abode. And someone, I believe, said that it needs to be like a brick. And I agree with that so much.
Why would it be a brick, though?
Or just like brick colored.
Gotcha.
Like I think doing like this two-tone kind of like deep red orange. Let's do... And this is a little this is just pointless information that I'm going to give you at this point.
Please.
If you were ever at Disneyland, we love Disneyland.
You have my ear.
I just got my magic key yesterday. I know I got one. I'm so excited. Okay.
That's amazing.
But if you're ever at Disneyland, if you walk into the park on Main Street and go directly to the right where the lockers are, there's a big brick wall. Mm-hmm. And that is a brick wall that they use to test paint colors for the brick that they have within the park. And so it has different colors of red on it. And one of the bricks, which is the one that they use for the park, and it's like in the center, is the brick that they based the Pantone brick red color off of. And so if you ever need it, it is the Pantone red is that brick. Okay.
So Disney actually influenced Pantone.
Yes.
That's interesting.
This
is design, Disney, everything's coming together. Andrew's bringing it together.
I'm here with you. Okay, so let's do maybe like a brown. Yeah. Yes, this is looking like a Wonka bar for some reason.
Oh, it does.
But I'm kind of
like
right.
That.
Like
yeah,
if we go into like this little yellow, and I'm just using. Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's what I want.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay, we're getting real magical vibes. I love it.
Cool. I'm into these. Okay, so this looks pretty cool, and I am going to add a little key hook on the top here. And maybe let's do one of these that has
Yeah. The hole through it at the top. It's got to have like a home.
Oh, no, I want to do the, like, it has like the little, gosh, I don't even know how to explain it. This.
The tag holder thing?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So then this would go like into the background like that right there.
Love
Fun.
it.
Okay,
Love
cool.
it.
So we have a couple, and let's go ahead and take these in and add a little bit of fun, a little bit of zazz, a little bit of
zazz. Ooh.
Zazz. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this into Adobe Express. So I'm going to go to express.adobe.com, and from here, I just want to add some fun to this design. So we're going to open up just a square one by one, and what's cool is we're in Illustrator here. And then we're in Express here. How much work do you think it's going to take us to get from one to the other?
Well, I am new to Express, but what I have experienced of it is going to be quick.
Check this out. So all we're going to do is we are going to copy. And then we're going to come over here and we are going to Control V to paste. Just copy and paste. Yes?
Yes.
There we go, right there.
There it is.
Easy as that. We can copy and paste
Amazing.
directly out of Illustrator into Adobe Express. And now maybe I want to create some promo. And this doesn't look the most like done, right? So let's do this. Let's go ahead and put it on some kind of background. Mm-hmm. And then maybe let's add some animation. Let's add some video. Let's turn this into something a little bit different. And what I definitely want to do, 100% I want to do this. I think I want to bring in each of the ants as its own object because I want it to like do a little dance.
Adorable.
Right? We talked about that. I think chat said that, and we did it with our little shoulders. So I'm going to bring it in so that we can play around with that on its own. So all I need to do there is I am going to...
What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Question.
Yep. I am going to outline this.
Ooh, okay.
And then what we're going to do is we are going to bring in each of these letters separately. So I'm going to bring in everything except these letters. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this right here. Mm-hmm. And make sure that those aren't coming in. We're going to paste that into Adobe Express. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
What on a log? What?
What's on the log? And now oops.
By the way, Kendall is saying that she is new to Express, but also that she has very high hopes for the potential of what it can do for her, which I feel the exact same way.
Yes.
And this is a perfect example of how easy it is to bring one thing into the other program and how Express, if you don't know, can make social media posting so much easier for you.
Yes.
Which is kind of the goal here. We want to make things easier.
So I'm literally just copy and pasting these from from Illustrator into Express.
Ooh, yes.
So fun. Okay, so
Gigantic.
now I know they all came in at different sizes, which is fine because I want them to bounce around a little bit. Now I can add some animation. Let's do the animation first.
Animation.
How do I spell it? Oh.
And this is for the intended use is an Instagram square post, right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And that's one of the things that you can choose when going into Express is what you intend for the piece of media that you're creating, basically.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here. There we go.
Clever Devlin says digital anti-log. Like digital and analog.
Anti-log. Yeah.
Anti-log.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, if we printed it, then it would be anti-log.
Reverb Mike says, we need ant legs. I've never heard that from the chat before, but I'm into it.
It feels on brand for stream with me. Just pure chaos.
Where are the ant legs?
All right, so we're here, and now we have our little ants on a log. I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to move these down a little bit. But I can add in my animation, and all I need to do is click on one of these, and then we're going to go to animation. We are going to do...
Cute.
Do I want them to do anything? I don't think I want them to do anything actually on the in. I think I just want them to loop. So doing just the middle one, the loop, I know that there is where are you? Wiggle. Yep.
Oh, cute. Yeah, like little ants on a log. See, I'm imagining that this hotel is very like, I know I come from the world of children's books, so I'm imagining kind of child-based stuff, like caterpillars on the wall, but like in that kind of mid-century modern style in a beautiful, fine arty kind of way, but children's media.
I totally agree. So then here we'll do animation, looping, and we will do a wiggle right there. All right, and now we can come down to our timeline right down here and hit play.
It's right behind you. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yay!
Cute.
Right?
I love it.
We bring our design from Illustrator down, so easy. And someone saying, Bruce, we didn't know that you can copy and paste from Illustrator. Yes, new workflows are emerging 100%. Something else that you can do from Illustrator.
And another thing.
I keep getting distracted because this is a tip. For sure this is a tip. So what we can do is I'm going to move this off the artboard. Actually, let's just create a new document real quick.
Reverb Mike says, I'm usually not a fan of ants in my hotel room. Trust me, these would be so cute.
They would be the cutest ants. So we are just going to say this. We don't even need to copy and paste if you don't want to. We are going to Control Shift S. I can't talk right now. And we are going to save this as ants right here. And now all I need to do, which is going to be pretty cool, is come over into Adobe Express. And we're going to leave this for a second. And let's do Antilog. This is going to be Antilog.
Oh my gosh.
And then we're going to do it digital. I don't know. So I'm going to come over here and we are going to do this button right here, start from your content. And this is going to allow us to start from that Illustrator file. So check this out. Start from your content, and we're going to hit downloads, go to ants, right, which is where I saved it, hit open, and watch what happens. It's going to evaluate that Illustrator file. It's going to convert it for us, and it's going to create some magic. So converting, it is done. We are going to open, and 3, 2, 1. Our Illustrator file is now in Adobe Express. Now,
that is magic.
I'm going to open another Express panel, and we are going to see, watch what happens. So the difference between the one that we created right here. Okay. What do we see over here?
The layers.
Yes.
We've got the letters.
Yes. But because we copied and pasted, it brought in everything as one shape. If you upload your Illustrator file, every single shape that you have is on its own layer.
You can make them all wiggle.
So we can make
all
them
at once.
We can make them all wiggle. Yes. And one thing that I have talked to the Express team and asked a million times to have is the ability to copy and paste attributes of animation, right? So if you click here, we do have to go through and animate each of these individually, but it's not that big of a deal just going through and turning on that wiggle for all of these.
But if you were to finagle the settings maybe or something like that, you want it to be applied to everything.
Yes.
I totally understand that.
Exactly. Yes.
And that is one of the benefits of CC, honestly, because everything is constantly being updated in Creative Cloud. They could update that as soon as tomorrow, and you could have it available.
And if you ever want to leave feedback, you can actually leave feedback right up here. Submit feedback on this button. And I know that there's probably people that are like, oh, it just goes into like some random pool of like email that doesn't go anywhere. I've met the person, which was so weird. I had a meeting and the guy was like, oh yeah, I'm the guy that like your emails go to if you submit an Illustrator crash. And I was like, what?
You're spamming me.
You're a real person? That's so cool. So there are actual people that read these, that take them into consideration, and hopefully implement your feedback. So let's hit play and watch everything wiggle.
Oh my gosh, it's adorable.
Nice little wiggle. So if I wanted to, I could come in here and change the timing of that so that they wiggle a little bit of a different time. Don't really care about that.
I like it all together, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's fun. So let's add some more stuff here. And we are started. This is our Illustrator file, and we've taken it into Adobe Express. So let's add a background here.
Oh, 1 second before you do that, we did have a question of, can you animate a group of something within Express? So you see on the layers up top, it looks like they're grouped. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you tried to animate that, would it animate everything all together?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, yes. Ooh, can I stack animation? Is this gonna break everything?
Let's break it, let's break it.
Okay, so let's see what happens here. I'm gonna drop it in from there, and then I'm going to loop. We are going to do a wiggle here. That will, actually, let's do this.
Whole thing.
Yeah, let's wiggle settings. Higher and more intensity. Oh yeah! Oh, that's so fun. I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know you could do this.
Discovering things.
I definitely didn't know you could do this, and this is so cool. So we've animated elements within, and then animated the entire group. And watch what happens when I play.
It's all wiggling.
It is all wiggling. So it's all wiggling, but it's weird timing. So let me change the timing on some of these and see if that helps.
I am so curious. Bruce says, break, break, break.
Yeah, I'm actually, that's what I like to do. And I think that's actually what some of the teams like us to do, is to break stuff, because then they figure out what's not working, what is working, what they can improve, what needs a little bit of a change. All right, let's play and see what happens.
Oh my gosh, so it does.
Look at them.
It's all individual.
It's all individual. That's so fun. And I actually think the group is going too much, so I'm going to turn down the wiggle. Turn the intensity and the speed way down. Oh, it's so fun.
That is amazing.
It's so
you
fun.
can really do a lot of animation in this.
Love this. There's a lot of animation. And if we wanted to,
it makes me want to do like a cutout character and have their arm moving and they're like walking. Could you do a walk cycle in Express?
You could do a walk cycle in Express. Okay.
What are you looking for? What do you need?
I would like kind of want to do voiceover, but we're not going to do it.
Oh, if only. That would be so fun. Well, give us an idea of what you would do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here, chat. This will just be for you. So I could record voiceover in Express. We're not going to do it right now. But, someone says this could be so much fun for a client. Yes.
Agreed.
Great for storyboarding. So I would, what would be my voiceover here? Okay, here we go. Chat, this is just for you. Wait, let me play my animation. Actually, let's add a background. Let's get the ad done first.
Okay.
You got it.
Actually, back up.
We got to keep you watching. So let's add in a background. All I need to do is go to media here, and I'm going to type in like, what do we want? Like a wood probably thing?
Yeah, I'm down.
Ooh, like a dark, moody wood.
Exactly. It's the log, people.
Yes. So I can click on this and then set it as the page background, and it will fill the whole background for me.
It's almost like the green of it is the moss that's on the log.
Yes. And then I'm also going to come over here, and I like to add a little bit of like video, but as texture in Express. This is a workflow that I think is very unique to Express. Is we're going to go to media, and then I'm going to click here, and I'm just going to do like spotlight on black background.
Dramatic.
Yeah. And then we're going to go to videos right here and see what kind of fits the look that we want.
Are you going for club? Are you going for sunlight through trees? Are you going for...
This is the answer. I don't know what I was going for until I saw this. So I'm going to click here, and then we are going to stretch it over the entire design. Canvas, thank you.
Yeah.
And then because it is a black background, and this is the trick for adding some kind of like texture video to your design in Express, is it needs to be on a black background or a white background. And the reason for that is if it's on a black background, I can come over here to the blend mode and change the blending mode to screen.
They've got blend modes.
Yes, and it will get rid of all of the dark parts and just leave the light part shining through. So watch what happens.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
It's like you're being abducted.
It did look like it was pretty crazy. And what's cool with the video,
the voiceover to reflect that.
Right, yes. With the video, I can come in here and I can actually change some of the tones. So if you have a video that's not black and white, you can do a duotone and change it to black and white or grayscale so you can use this effect. For me, I actually maybe want the highlights to be like a little more of a blue. So I am going to keep the shadows at the black to make them go away. And the highlights, I think doing like, let's do a green, right?
Yeah, why not?
So highlights, we're gonna make green. And now as this plays, it's gonna be really intense. But you'll see it now has a nice green, right?
Okay, it's very aliens.
It's very aliens. We are the ants and this is the log. And someone's saying, is there a way to make the ants letter into a group and just animate that? 100%. I'll show you that in just a second.
Oh, you can show them everything.
We're into the request version of this show.
Yeah, total request live.
Welcome to TRL.
Yeah.
So the opacity is too much. So I'm just going to take the opacity way down to give us a little bit of that texture because it was fully abduction. There we go. Right? Just a little bit of something on the edges there. And someone's asking, can I just isolate the ants part to make them their own group? Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to click into this group right here, and I'm actually just going to ungroup everything. That just killed our animation.
Oh, no.
I undid it. I undid it. So I'm going to double click to get in there, and then I actually can come in and choose just the ants. So we can do, can I group within a group? No.
Try. Why not?
I don't think I can.
Undo is there.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to ungroup this. Got it? I know. And I actually am going to lock this video on top because it's going to keep bugging me. So we're going to click on lock right there.
Yes.
And then I'm going to click and drag. Oops.
Here, that's another tip I would say. How did you lock and unlock this?
Oh, yeah. So all you need to do is click on the video right here. And then we are going to click on the lock button right here.
Excellent.
There we go. So that way we don't move it around, make it weird. And all I can do is just click and drag. And you'll see I grabbed some of the key tag. I don't want that. So I can just hold shift and it will deselect it. And now with all of these selected, I can simply right click and go to group. And now ants is all in its own group right here. And I don't believe that I had to ungroup anything. Is there a group inside this group? No, I did ungroup it. Okay. So from there, we can do animation, we can loop, and we can add in the wiggle right there. Nice. Oh, it's
still there?
Double animated. So there is animation on the letters, and there is animation on the group of ants. And is there still animation on the entire group? No. Okay, so we had to take off the animation on the entire group. But hold on, can I do that?
I know, like you just stack. It's like Russian doll of
Yes. So I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to group everything. And then add an animation to everything that makes it wiggle. No, let's make it, where's the one that I really like?
Everybody's like,
Bob,
groups and groups and groups and groups.
Okay, so, I didn't think I could do this much. Okay, there is a group that, actually, let's name the groups, chat. What is the top group?
Top group, like the biggest overarching? Yes. That's the umbrella.
Yes, hotel key tag, whole thing, umbrella, that's all animated. I click in there, and then I scroll down, and there's another group inside the group that is just the ants, and the ants block is animating. Yes. I click on the ants block, and then from there, each of the letters of the ants are also animating.
Keep going deeper. So if you were to recommend how to do this, would you start with the individual letters,
yes.
then the word?
I'd work from the bottom all the way up to the top.
Gotcha.
Yes. And now,
Oh my gosh, look at it go.
And it feels like it's underwater.
It's
So
a parody.
I'm going to do water bubbles on.
Kendall says
Black
this is so much
background.
better than pre-comps and After Effects. I don't know exactly what those are, but I'm glad that this is a better alternative for you. Bruce just says, sheesh.
All right, cool. So we're going to do this, and it will scale if you just grab the sides. It will scale to the actual size. And again, I'm going to change the blending mode to screen here, and I'm going to take the opacity way down. And then let's go ahead and play that.
Drippy droppy. Ooh, oh,
Ooh.
ants on a log. So we've gone from ants on a log as the snack to ants on a log insect theme to abduction aliens to underwater.
Yes.
All
Underwater
of the above
aliens
at Hotel
abducting,
Ants.
all of the above. And the voiceover would sound, actually, chat, here's what's going to happen is I can actually record the voiceover for you, but I won't be able to hear it. So we'll just go for it.
Should I dip out of frame so that you could like select this and like save it from the video so you have your voiceover on it?
Oh, we can do that. Yes, we can do that after.
We only have a few minutes
yes. All right, so I'm going to go in here and we are going to go to media and then we are going to go to audio and from here I can record voiceover. So you click on record voiceover. I will need to, okay, there we go. Where's it? Where's
Hello.
my mic?
Hello.
Hello? Hello. Okay, it's down here.
It can hear you ish.
This is not where the mic is. It's over here. Okay, here we go. I have 5 seconds. Okay, here we go. Oh, I need to put it over here.
Quiet on the set.
All right, here we go. Head down to Log Avenue for ants on Log. Get abducted in luxury and take a dive into the... Oh no! Oh no! I almost got it in one. Okay, how much time? We have 3 minutes. Okay.
You're good. Go for it.
Okay, so I am going to cancel that. We're going to do it one more time. All right, here we go.
Off the top of your head.
I got it.
Love it.
Improv. Here we go. All right. Head on down to Log Street and join us at Ants on a Log. Dive into luxury and be abducted by the decadence of our rooms. All right.
Dive into the decadence of our rooms.
I'm
my
here.
goodness.
I'm here. All right, chat.
Somebody hire him.
Yes, you'll be able to hear this, chat. Let me make
Boom.
sure that my volume isn't crazy. Studio manager, you're going to kill me if I play this right now? No. All right, love it.
No murder today.
Yes.
All right.
All right, here we go, chat. This is for you. Head on down to Log Street and join us at Ants on a Log. Dive into luxury and be abducted by the decadence of our rooms. Amazing. Amazing.
Bravo. they
Hopefully
say.
you loved it. So let's do a recap maybe of everything that we did.
We did a lot today. Oh my gosh, Andrew.
We did a lot. All right. So we started, how many tips do we get through?
Okay, so I have counted 15, 16, 17 wins and 1 L.
There we go. So 16 tips. We took one away. Chat, if you learned anything, let me know, and we can count that toward your tip total.
Tip total.
A tip total. Tip total. So let's go ahead and recap. We did start in Adobe Illustrator, and we made a bunch of different key tags that allowed us to... where do I want it? There we go. A bunch of different key tags that allowed us to learn some tips and tricks, how to use some tools, how to use scalloping around the edges. And yes, there was a lot today. Then
Yes.
we copied and pasted that into Adobe Express. We also saved an Illustrator file and uploaded it into Express to allow us to create some animation. And one more time, we will give you this animation and then we will send you on your way. Stick around, there's more content coming up next. But here is the awesome animation that we created with you today. Oh, hold on. Oh no, I ruined it. Okay. Here's the awesome animation
Almost.
that we created with you here today. Head on down to Log Street and join us at Ants on a Log. Dive into luxury and be abducted by the decadence of our rooms. That's all we got for you. Thanks so much. Stick around, everyone. There's more content coming up next and great stuff throughout the day. Again, more tips and tricks. We promised you 50, and we got through a lot today during this stream, so there's more on the way. Stick around. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. And some people, Bruce and Chad, is saying, great to see behind the scenes. Yes, pure chaos today in the studio. We had bathroom runs, we had new setup. How are you doing today, Anna?
Oh, just great.
So fun. So if you like chaos, if you like tips and tricks in Creative Cloud, what are we going to be focusing on? In the last stream, we did a lot of tips and tricks in Illustrator. Where are we during this stream?
So today we are going to be in Photoshop, one of my all-time favorite programs. It is going to be a whirlwind of creating not only a Patreon sticker, but a post to advertise it. This is actually perfect because the chaos fits me. Okay,
Yes.
I have to say, this is very much like how I function on the daily, and I'm trying to get better at posting regularly. I think a lot of you feel this pain. You make something and then you don't have the energy to tell people about it. This is exactly where Express comes in. And so I want to create something in Photoshop that I can put into Express so it's a seamless transition and we can all together as a group get better at advertising ourselves.
Yes.
We can do this.
We can do this. And Chad, if you are going to follow along with me, we are counting today. We are trying to get
To
50. We're trying to get to
tips.
50. Yes, we've promised 50 different tips and tricks.
So many tips.
So we are going to try that. And Studio Manager Chat saying Anna's mic got pretty quiet. We may have pulled a cord at some point with something. Oh no, it just got far away.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, so also Studio Manager is in. So if you see a head pop up, we're figuring it out today. It's a great time. Okay, so what we're doing is we are trying to get 50 different tips and tricks. This is the post-it note, Chat. You can't see, but it's there. And we were trying to get to 50. We currently are at 17 minus 1. I made a mistake on one, so we took one away. So we're at 16. What's our goal for this one?
As many as possible. I have 5 million tips for Photoshop, but also there are 2 more streams after this with Jesus and Lisa, and they're also going to be throwing tips.
Yes.
So stick around all day.
And I know that Jesus has like at least 20 that are like ready to go. So we can count on that. Let's see how far we get. Chat, count with me. 16. If you learn something, chat, let me know that you learned something and I'll add it to the tally and we'll count it as a tip or trick. All right, let's hop into Photoshop. What are we doing today and where are we starting?
So to start, I want to show you a few of my past stickers because this is exactly what we're going to be working on. A sticker. This is such a fun thing for illustrators to create because it's a tangible product that you can make. So I started with this little axolotl. This was one of my favorite and first
Axolotls!
stickers. I'm going to have to give you one. Okay.
Their little faces.
They're just like... So yes, this was actually from a stream that I did with Ryan Selvey actually a long time ago. I made a full sheet of axolotls and this was my favorite one. And I printed it on holofoil material and it was so much fun to get that in my hands and it's still one of my favorites. We're going to take some inspiration from how goofy this one is today in our artwork. Going on through, I'm a children's book illustrator by trade, so you're going to see a lot of cute animals and the vibes are going to be fun and quirky and adorable.
Cute vibes.
Yeah. So these are some of my more recent ones. This one has a mirror effect on the stars, and this one has the same kind of mirror effect but with a different color with the gold. It shines when you move it. It's very fun.
This is the ultimate transition crossover. Look at your scalloped edges.
Exactly.
Yes,
oh
if
my
you
gosh.
don't know what we're talking about, watch the stream that was right before this on the replay, or maybe you can rewind and then catch back up.
Ants on a log.
Yes, we learned.
You'll get it.
It's a log. It is dead ants on a log. That's what this is. So if you missed it, you got to tune in at 9 a.m. every morning for Adobe Live because we have a lot of fun here. Okay, continuing on with your stickers. I love this one.
This would be my key tag for like the goth version of Ants on a Log Hotel.
Yes. Ants in a grave.
Ants in a grave. It's just metal music the whole time. All right, and then this is one of my most recent ones. It's a fox chasing a falling star, and it's got that holofoil again on the material. I bring this up because I want to intend for a mirror or holofoil effect for the sticker that we're making today. So just keep this in mind. And then I also want to show you the difference between when you create a sticker in your hands and you saw what they look like in picture, but also the development behind them. I start with absolute nonsense. This is the kind of stuff that you can absolutely see in my sketchbook.
I love seeing this stuff.
Yeah, it's just like goofy fun times, basically. Is like I open up a file, whatever size, not intending for a final product, and just draw. And I highly recommend you guys do this just so you can feel out many different ideas if you do want to design a sticker. And then from there, I started a new page and I started drawing, and I was like, oh, I like this turtle thing. I'm going to go with that. And then I did this random little sketch of a crow carrying a sandwich in its mouth. And that's the one I went with. So I decided to paint this up, and this was the final artwork that I actually ordered the sticker with. And then here is what it looks like in person. And I did like a clear background.
That's so cute.
It's adorable, and I love it. But it's one of those things that this is what the artwork looks like flat, and this is what it looks like in sticker form physically. So all of these things we want to keep in mind when designing our sticker.
Yep. And there's someone mentioning in chat something that I'd love to talk about. Yeah. Someone says, I miss Anna's PSDCCs.
Oh, that's so nice.
So if you don't know what a DCC is, and Nate is asking DCCs with a question mark, they are now WCCCs, and they stand for Weekly Creative Challenges. So we have challenges every single morning at 9:30 a.m., and they are something to help you level up your skills. So every day, on Mondays, it's video. On Tuesdays, it is Illustrator. And on Wednesdays, it's Photoshop. That happens every single day, Monday through Wednesday, and every single week. And then at the end of the month, we have a community day, and we recap everything that you've made. We hang out, teach you things. So tune in for those. Set your reminders. You can also go to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop to get there. And yes, if you still say DCC, that's fine. I'm calling them dynamic creative challenges because they keep changing days.
I love that.
And I will forever say DCC. So tune in for those, learn some stuff. Let's hop into stickers.
Yes. By the way, my husband is in the chat. Hello, James. Thank you for being here. Saying stickers by Anna are available through your Patreon and online store. This is what I'm trying to get better at, is plugging myself. But I also want to share with you guys because honestly, it's a strug bus and we're on it together. Choo choo. Let's go. So my tip number one, I'm going to have some that are very like overall overarching, and then others that are very technical kind of things. Okay, Photoshop, what are you saying? Oh, okay. Cool. So I got it.
Sounds good.
Wait. Oh, it opened a smart object for the image. Okay, that's what it was doing. Sorry, I'm working on a new Cintiq, and it's unfamiliar, so we're gonna go through it today.
We got it.
Anyway, so one of my overarching tips is to know the context of what you're creating. So that's exactly what we just went through. We're looking at stickers and seeing the outcome of what they look like when they're produced. So think, what kind of file type do I need? What kind of aspect ratio do I need? I always work bigger than I intend to print. So these are things that are always good to keep in mind. Okay, so for the process of the sticker today, I did a bunch of squiggles. Again, Andrew, this is, just
very squiggly.
Figuring stuff out on the paper. I am a big fan of having something on the canvas so that you can edit it and make it better. So this is where I start, and I did another page, and I marked out, I like a few of these. I'm going to bring one to a little bit more of a finish, and here's our sketch that we're starting with today. And this is just a loose idea of the sticker that I want to make. It is a dragon, because this is the Lunar New Year of the dragon. And
oh.
Do you not know that?
No.
I've seen so much dragon art lately, and I love it.
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm into it.
I love dragons. So this is the whole intent, is we're going to make a dragon sticker, and I want to make some part of it have a cool effect. Some kind of, maybe a gold or maybe a hollow foil. We will figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? Are you feeling anything so far?
I could see, okay. This is the most specific reference. Did you ever as a child read The Rainbow Fish?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Love the
I'm
rainbow
imagining
fish.
like dragon with a few scales that are like the rainbow fish scales that could be hollow foil, right?
That's
kind of mixed
beautiful.
in.
Yes. I love that. Okay, so just every color. Just
yes.
go for it.
And chat, if you have any ideas for special little effects on this dragon, let us know. Put them in the chat. We would always love to see them. And yes, Kendall putting in some dragons in the chat.
Dragon. Yes,
dragon.
And the Lunar New Year last year was the year of the rabbit, and I did a little artwork to celebrate that. So I kind of feel like this is something that I want to make a habit, is just celebrating whatever Lunar New Year we have going on. It's such a fun thing, especially as somebody who really loves animals and, of course, magical animals.
Yes.
Like, how could you do better?
Yes. And I had a question, and I was reading chat, and I was going to say someone in chat has a question, but no, it's mine.
His name is Andrew.
His name's Andrew. Yeah, someone in chat named Andrew has a question. We're really loosey-goosey with what we're drawing here.
Yes.
Or at least coloring in. Why are we being so loose about it? What's the technique that we're going to kind of pull this together with?
So today I want to highlight how I have basically found my workflow, which is kind of perfect because I am on a new Cintiq and I don't have my usual setup. So I wanted to show you how to start something that feels like it is adaptable to you guys. So tip number 2 actually is going to be finding the brushes for you. So this is the brush menu over here on the right has this handy dandy get more brushes up in the menu. And this is so important for if you want to find just a absolute deluge of brushes that Kyle Webster has very kindly put together for us.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle. I absolutely love the mega pack. Let's see if we have it. I don't even know. So we're just trying it out.
If you want to hang out with Kyle, tomorrow we are doing a stream with Kyle. Tomorrow is all about starting the new year on the right note. And so there will be a stream with Kyle T. Webster that is all about Zen art. We'll be doing some meditation. We'll be drawing. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. It's going to be a great stream.
Absolutely. Now, if I bring my brush panel over here after Get More Brushes, it downloaded right here. So we're going to have, where is it? General brushes. I don't know where it went. It should be here. Oh, these are from Sid? Oh my goodness.
Oh,
okay.
Sid.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
We love Sid. Do you need to load them? We downloaded them. Do we need to load them in?
Usually it just shows up in the brushes panel.
Oh.
But maybe that just doesn't happen today. That's totally fine. We don't know exactly what version we're working with, but for you guys, it should absolutely work. So I'm going to use some of the dry media brushes that it looks like we have from Kyle already in here. So this says the Kyle Ultimate Hard Pencil. That sounds perfect for what I want to do. So I'm actually going to, here's one of the hotkey tips. I have 5 million hotkey tips. If you want to, yeah, exactly. It's literally going to be a million. So to bring up the brush, you can press B. My favorite thing ever. If you want to create a, okay, so I have this brush here and I'm like, I've worked hard to get this brush and I want to make it my eraser as well. You don't need to go to the eraser tool and find the brush and make sure that it works like that. Sometimes it doesn't work at all like that. Like the brushes aren't erasers as well. But guess what? And I know my regulars know what I'm talking about here. My favorite tip is when you are using your brush, you can press down the tilde key, which is a little squiggle underneath the escape key on your keyboard. And as you press it down, it erases with the same brush that you're drawing with.
Oh, so that's a great tip.
Yeah, paint, erase.
I'll give it to you.
Erase. Oh, thank you.
Tallied.
You. Wait, so you're also judging?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Oh, no. Okay, so we've got a charcoal pencil. We've got a Happy HB. Ooh, I like actually the Happy HB. I'm going to go with that one. So what I'm going to do is, don't show me that again. Oh, I'm going to make a new layer over. Whenever it asks me if I want to see something again, I'm like, no.
Never again.
Never again. I'm going to forget you ever showed me anyway. Okay, so I'm going to put the opacity of my really loose sketch layer very, very low so that I can just draw over it and have a nice, easy canvas to work on. Now, my other favorite hotkeys are Control or Command Z, obviously. I know that that's one you guys already know, but that is so important. If you were to show somebody Photoshop for the first time, please just tell them that.
Yes.
They need to know.
I think you just did something.
Yeah.
If I'm paying attention correctly, it looked like you drew a straight line. And maybe this is wrong, or maybe I'm going to give a tip during this stream. But if you were trying to draw a straight line in Photoshop, I know that you can tap and then hold Shift and tap at the next one, and it will create a straight line between those 2 points.
Absolutely.
So if you want to create a straight line right there, I think that's what you did on the leg. I was trying to watch your fingers, but that is the tip.
I was just that straight in that moment. But I absolutely love that tip because absolutely you have to find these ways of doing things that match what you like. I also love just holding down Shift and it'll make a straight line as you drag. Oh. However, that usually follows the axes of up and down, horizontal or vertical.
Yep.
Except if you rotate the canvas by pressing R and then dragging, then you do your brush, and you press shift and it'll match the angle that you've rotated to.
Oh, that's really cool. So you can rotate the canvas
Exactly.
so you can draw your angles right there.
Yes.
That's really cool.
And when using the rotate tool, you can get exact measurements of like what degree you're going for. So you could theoretically make like a whole grid system if you were doing perspective work or whatever you want.
Yep. And Tamaz, hello, greetings from Poland, greeting from Netherlands. Lots of friends hanging out with us today, which is really cool.
Netherlands. Oh, wow. Hello. We've got a European crew. What's up?
And while you draw, I'm going to hide the doc real quick.
Please, go for it.
Chat said I'm missing the little.
I can't draw while you do that. So
there we go.
job.
Sorry. There we go.
Thank
We
you.
did it, chat. We have full screen.
We are the doc.
We are.
Hello? What do you need? So what I'm going to do is, because I love your idea of doing like rainbow fish vibes, I think I want to do a really graphic black sketch to start so that I have this like strong base for a ton of color underneath. I think that would be really fun. So let's just try to follow that vibe. And I'm just going to be sketching for a little bit. So this is the free time of like, okay, so if you have any questions, I can absolutely answer them.
Yes. And here's what we're going to do, chat, is we are going to start a poll because everything that we create on Adobe Live, anything that looks like it could have a name is getting a name. So if you want to vote in our poll, I do need some suggestions for names. So go ahead and put on the suggestions for names in chat, and then we'll be voting on a poll over on YouTube. But we need some suggestions to start the poll. So chat, give me some suggestions. What should we name this dragon?
Absolutely.
And do you have any story for our dragon? Where is he from? What's his story?
Well, this is the new year in our year of 2024. What are our intentions? Because this is a creation of ours. This is not a passive thing. We are making our own future here. So our intentions for this dragon, I think it's a very hopeful dragon full of change, but in the way that is beneficial to you as a human being. What do you think?
I love the change. I want to say it's a dragon that like was something else and then like turned into a dragon, right?
Well, if last year it was a bunny, then it's getting a heck ton like more.
Oh, that's true.
Tough.
Is it a bunny that turned into a dragon? How would a bunny turn into a dragon? What's our story?
It hopped to the moon because Lunar New Year, obviously.
Ooh, obviously. Yes. I love that. It maybe it went to the moon and it inhaled some like dust when it landed on the moon that was like space dust, and then it transformed it into
It's imbibing lunar dust.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, and maybe the rabbit inhaled it. It like choked on it a little bit and died.
Oh my gosh!
But then it like
Andrew.
it decomposed into the moon, and then the moon soil brought it back like a phoenix rising, and then it turned into a dragon.
Wait,
as the sun hit it, as the sun hit the grave.
As the rose and the something on the grave.
Exactly.
I know that Seal song.
That's our story. We're sticking to it. Chat, give us some new names. All right, we got a couple coming in here. Oh, that is a good one. We're gonna vote, but I think that is gonna be the winner. I need one more option, chat, and then I will put up the poll for us. And someone says coins. Great. Okay.
Coins.
So, chat, if you are with us on Behance, now is the time to head over to YouTube and vote on our poll. Moderators, can you drop the link into the YouTube video? You can go vote on that poll. If you're already on YouTube, you can vote there as well. I'll leave it up for a few minutes, and the options are Luna. Great.
Of course.
Nua.
Classic.
Or coins.
Coins.
And Reverb says Jeff. So you can vote on that and let us know what you want the name of our dragon to be.
I love that. I also want it to be some kind of like title that comes with it. So if it's coins, it's like the horde of treasure dragon or something.
Every dragon needs a middle name that's like a story.
Absolutely, like the Great Rebirther or something. It's like, here's the new year.
The Moon Phoenix.
The Moon Phoenix. Oh my gosh, that's so epic. I love that, Andrew.
Okay, and chat. Yes, chat is voting. Luna is a front runner, and I would say that is going to stay, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Coins might make a comeback.
I love coins, honestly.
And yes,
coins
Anna today is indeed the mother of dragons. It's you.
Call me Danny. I love that. I would love to be the mother of dragons. I used to not draw them or paint them at all, and then suddenly I just started, and I couldn't stop. And I've made actually several like traditional paintings of dragons now. I love them so much.
It seems like a fun shape to
Exactly.
be able to draw.
It's long boys. I don't care what it is. I just like long boys. I want them to be noodly and weird, and I love it. I love it so much. And it's specifically this type of long dragon. Like, I don't necessarily draw them with like wings or like, the epic fire breathing, which I love. Like medieval dragons, I'm down for. A good wyvern, I'm in.
Yes.
But like a long noodle boy.
Yep.
Spirited Away got into my soul. Like, I just love it.
Yes.
You've seen?
Yes. It reminds
good.
me of the rainbow unicorn from Adventure Time.
Oh,
right?
Lady Rainicorn.
Lady Rainicorn,
Absolutely.
that's what it is, yes.
Yes. I love Lady Rainicorn. I wish you honestly got
And
more.
someone's saying, why are you drawing in Photoshop and not using Illustrator? That's a great question. Why would we do this in Photoshop and not Illustrator?
I am a homebody of Photoshop. I was raised in this. Also, raster versus vector, right?
Yep.
That's usually the big definitive line between the two of them. Raster offers a lot of texture, a lot of looseness. That is something that I really thrive on. I'm trying to make marks that are kind of like traditional work, like I would do in my sketchbook. And in Illustrator, you absolutely get the advantage of clean lines. You get the infinite scalability of vector. And in Photoshop, it can, it's not infinitely scalable. It's raster.
Yep.
It will degrade over time.
And because I think
like
we want that kind of children's book look.
Yes.
This is, Photoshop's much better at like gradients, at subtle kind of, even the like sketchy pencil look that you're doing here.
Yeah.
Like that'd be really hard to get in Illustrator because it is vector based.
Exactly.
So for this style, we want to be in Photoshop. We could do the same thing in Illustrator. It would just be a little bit cleaner, and I don't think we want that crispness to it.
Yes, but you totally could. If you wanted to make a really clean dragon, it would be so fun. And with the arch tool that you showed in the last stream,
Yes.
you could absolutely get all the curves of your dragon. You could bring in your sketch. You could
Yes.
match the curves.
And if you want to learn how to illustrate a dragon in Adobe Illustrator, tune in next Friday with Matthew. Choro? I can't pronounce his last name. Tune in with Matthew. He's going to be showing you how to create some custom brushes, and you might be illustrating a dragon. He has some great dragon illustrations. So tune in.
That's so cool.
There's content for everything.
Plan it. If you want more dragon content.
Yes, dragon content here on Adobe Live.
All dragons all the time.
And it looks like the winner is Luna. So it is going to be Luna. I agree.
I love it.
And I think, yes, maybe like the Luna, the resurrected moon, right?
Resurrected moon.
The resurrected moon.
I feel like Luna, the rainbow scales, because it's Luna, it makes me think opalescent. Kind of like a light pastel of the colors.
Yep.
That's amazing. I wonder, okay, so I think if I order it, I use Sticker App, by the way. There are a million different sticker ordering kind of websites.
Love Sticker App.
Yes, you've done it?
Love Sticker App.
Oh, excellent.
Love them.
I love that. We need to do a sticker swap, clearly. So when you order from them, I believe that they can do the whole thing hollow foil and have the different colors underneath. So it's not all just like one color. It's the multiple underneath of it. So we should just, I think, go to town on a bunch of different colors for the scales, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that'd be really fun.
And it could be fun to play around with different shapes of scales. Like, you know how scales, usually look, right?
Yes.
But we can mess with it. That is our prerogative as the creatives. Sorry, I have to cough.
Oh, you're good. While that happens, tune in. I have no more content to plug, chat. You already know everything that's happening on Adobe Live. Actually, I do. If you want to tune in at the end of the day, 1 p.m., we have an episode of Adobe Office Hours talking about everything that's new on Adobe Live. So, new schedule, we give you a preview of all of the new shows, and we also talk about the hot trends in graphic design for 2024. Hot trends.
Okay, so we've got our sketch in, or not sketch, what is this? This is like a slightly more finished sketch, which is the kind of the vibe I'm going for. I'm not going for super like tight or anything. I want it to feel very sketchy, very loose. So what I'm going for is now the scales, the colors, all that kind of fun stuff. So we can really decide here. One of my favorite things to do with creatures is make their like arms and legs a little bit darker than the rest. So we can kind of figure out our value scale to begin with. So here's another hot tip for Photoshop. You can create a nice little color palette in Photoshop and have all these different colors on hand if you need them again. And that is something that we may use I honestly sometimes just make them to the side like this. You know, like you go through and figure out
smart.
your favorite colors and keep them on hand.
And I do this in, if I'm going to Illustrator to Express, I actually do that to where I'll make like boxes of all my colors. And then just paste it so that I can turn that layer on and off and use eyedropper to grab the colors. So this is very similar. And I think this is really smart to be able to have your palette there at all times and be able to just eyedropper it.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to change the background to white because the blue was too distracting. So I'm also going to lasso tool, get rid of this. Lasso tool, also a lifesaver, just by the way.
Yes.
And one of my biggest pet peeves that I have found in Photoshop over the many years that I have used it is sometimes you're painting and it won't paint. And you're like, is my stylus broken? Like, what's happening? I don't know. And I've gone through like every way of fixing this problem, and I learned that I had something selected, like one pixel somewhere. So here is the hot tip.
Hotkey.
Command or Control D to deselect everything in the canvas so that you do not have to worry that you have something wrong with your computer and it's not letting you draw. It's just that something's selected. So deselect it.
If there are, and there are a couple of those hotkeys that if something is not working, I just cycle through 3 or 4 hotkeys to be like, it might be any of these things.
It could be this.
And Command D is very much one of them because it will deselect if something is selected and something's going wrong. I'll hit Tab. Also, F is a good hotkey if your panels get weird, or if you're in InDesign. W also does some stuff sometimes. So mess around with those hotkeys and see if that fixes the problem. So
hotkeys are amazing.
What are we doing here with our colors? What's our next step in our illustration?
Right now, I'm just picking out the colors so that we can paint in a bunch of different scales. And I honestly think I'm just gonna go a little hog wild with like mark making and stuff and make the feeling of scales come across. Again, we don't have to do extreme detail here. It's really just like implied.
Yes, not scale-y, but scale-ish.
Scale-ish. I like it.
Yes, I like that.
And maybe starting with like a base color, a leg color, and then getting a little wild. And we can keep each one of these on their own layers so that we can have control over that. And maybe even adjust the colors as we go, because this is the very loose color palette that I'm making right here on the left. If I want to change something about it, I absolutely can. And that's another hot tip that I will show you as we go along, is how I change colors. So we've got this basic, I'm going to do it again, Command D. This basic outline behind us, and I want to work within this so that I can basically like keep it in the realm of sticker. You're booping it, Snoop.
I was so close to booping it, but it cuts off like right there.
Oh,
so
no, tragedy strikes. Wait, I can fix this.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Wait.
Yay!
Okay, back to the illustration. I got distracted.
There is no such thing as distraction. This is meant to be. Okay, so I'm going in. I'm going to call the base color. Let's do, and by the way, I'm using Alt or Option to color select. This is also a lifesaver, so you do not have to go to the eyedropper tool every 2 seconds. You can just press Alt while on the brush tool, select whatever color you want, and go. All right, so I'm going to do purple as the base. Why not? Why not, right? It feels kind of Luna-esque.
It does.
Absolutely. And then when we get to the tips, like the ends of the feet, the snoot, the horns, the ears, all that stuff, what color do you think it should fade to?
Chat, we'll let you pick that. And our colors are the ones on the left, right? The options?
Yeah, I mean, it could be any color.
Okay,
I was just making a pale rainbow.
So what color should what complementary color? Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, I like that. We could do complementary. We could do analogous. We could do, there are so many different color schemes we could kind of call this. Overall, it's going to be a mix of basically everything in the end, right?
Yes.
That's what we want.
So let's do that. And then let's do here and blue. All right. So if you want to join us and you want to help us pick the color of the snoot and the phalanges, Snoot and Phalanges feels like a restaurant name.
Oh my gosh, is this our new hotel?
Right? So if you want to vote, there is a poll up on YouTube. You can go help us decide. The options that we have are right there kind of on the side: pink, yellow, green, or blue. If you go over with pink, it would just be like a lighter pink from what we have already. So pink, yellow, green, or blue.
Thank
and
you.
I just saw you use a lasso tool a little bit of a different way. What did we do there and how did we use that?
So if you want to use the lasso tool, or I should say, if you want to fill something with color very quickly, the lasso tool is your best friend. All you have to do is swoop across a very general shape, and if you want to cut out of that shape, you can hold Alt-Option, and it will delete from your selection. Then, if you want to fill really easily, you can do Command or Control-Delete, and usually it should fill with the, it depends on what your fill is set to.
Yeah, so Control-Delete fills with the background color.
Yes.
So it will fill with, over on the left, if you see, there is the white and the purple, so it will fill with whatever one is in the back. So if you're not getting the right color, you can actually change that by hitting X, and it will flip those.
Yes, another hot tip.
Hot tip?
Yes, if you're ever
I'll
wanting
add that
to
my
quickly...
tally.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just
You
trying
get
to
credit.
steal tallies here.
That's perfect. But yes, this is, it's the quickest way to fill. I love hand painting in everything, but I absolutely appreciate that we want to see the sticker finish. So I'm just trying to get stuff done.
Yes, we have about 25 minutes left. So I think we've got time. We can get a thing going there.
Time flies on Adobe Live.
And chat, I need one more person to vote because we are tied with yellow and green right now, and I need one more person to break that tie. So if you haven't voted, head to YouTube, and we need one more vote, and whichever one gets the next vote. I don't think it's me. I don't want that responsibility. I don't want that on my shoulders.
Come on, embrace the chaos.
Chat, I will give you 10 seconds for someone to go vote.
Okay, so we've got a really loose color in here, and I love that. I do love, honestly, having a challenge set of like do it fast so that you don't get so finicky about everything. So we have the layer of the fill underneath the actual dragon itself. I'm going to clip it. This is so key to my use of Photoshop, is clipping layers. All you have to do is hover between two layers with your stylus, press Alt or Option, and you'll see this little command come up, and click down. It's clipped. And that means that it will not go outside the bounds of the layer that it is clipped to. So if I want to make the legs yellow, boom, all I have to do is do it on its own layer, and it won't go outside of the purple layer.
Yep. And chat has made their decision.
What is it?
It was yellow.
So
yellow
perfect.
is the decision for the edges and the extra pieces to fade to. And I think that is going to be a nice kind of golden glow.
Absolutely. Golden globe. It's on the mind. It just happened.
Yes. And Arshia, we are doing our polls over on YouTube. If you want to, you can hover over the video up at the top and just click on the title of the video, and it will take you over to YouTube so that you can vote on the poll there.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I love this color scheme.
It's very cute. Honestly, I was not expecting this, and this is the magic of chat.
Thank you, chat.
Thank you, chat. It always happens. They surprise me in the best ways. Okay, so we've got this. I actually might do the belly gold as well.
Ooh, I love that contrast.
It also makes me think of like a dragon's hoard, like it's been collecting. What if it eats stars so that it
eats stars?
Yes.
It eats stars. Yes.
Luna goes and eats stars.
Oh, that's so good. It eats stars.
They glow from their belly, and it becomes this like the dragon's hoard classic of like them encrusted with gold on their belly because they lie on it all the time.
I love that.
It's glowing from within, you know? All right, so we've got our gold layer. We could make that hollow foil or like the whole thing. Who knows? Okay, so when we're talking about changing colors, this is another tip I wanted to just bring out. There are a million ways to do things in Photoshop. We know this. But one of the quickest ways for me to pick between colors and see them visually in front of myself is to go to the adjustment layers, throw a hue saturation layer on whatever I am going to adjust. And you can, again, clip with Alt and hover between. And then once we have this menu up, we can make the background color whatever we want it to be. It's so easy to just visually see it instead of going to the paint bucket and fill and paint bucket and fill and all that stuff.
Yep, and what can be fun if you work on an illustration, once you're done with it, to put this adjustment layer over the whole thing and then kind of just scroll through the hue and saturation and see, is there another color scheme that looks cooler, that might be unconventional, that I didn't think of, based on the values that you've used in your illustration?
Exactly. And you can see how much color plays off of each other. I am only adjusting the background color right now, and you can see how much it changes that purple. Like, wow, it's purple. And it's like, it's blue or something. Like, it's just changing how it looks visually, what color is behind it. Do you have any feelings about the background color?
I would do like almost like a space. Maybe we do like a space, like deep purple.
Deep purple 9. Okay, let's do it. Like darker, more saturated. What do you think?
I think less saturated, darker, maybe a little more like a purple blue.
Less saturated, more blue, and darker. Like that?
Yeah.
You
right?
think so, like Midnight Dragon.
Yeah. And maybe even like there's some little like stars like in the negative
I
space,
would
right?
love
Just
that.
some little dots, right?
Of course.
So it gives us that context
Who
that
are you
they're
talking
flying
to?
through
I
space.
love
Who are you talking to?
Who do you think you are? I love stars.
And chat, if you ever had suggestions like that for things to add or just fun stuff or fun ideas that you have, please drop them in chat. Let us know.
Drop them in the chat.
Drop them in the chat. We do have about 20 minutes left, so we are making good time. I think we're gonna get something done here, which will be really fun.
Getting something done. We're going to bring this into Express so that we can make a post about it. And this is, again, the habit I am trying to form is making the creative process not stop at the creation of the sticker. So it's not just, okay, I did it and now it lives in a black hole. First of all, my intention is to send these to patrons. I do it every single month along with a postcard. And the thing is, people don't know that unless you tell them. Isn't that crazy? And you can only really tell them online through social media.
Yes.
So this is something that I want to get better at. And so what I'm going to do is bring this file into Express so that we can create a post and get in the habit together. Now, Andrew is an absolute expert on everything that he touches, basically. So you will know more than me. This is hands down a fact. But if you watch the last stream that we just did with Andrew, you absolutely will see the power of animation in Express is something to behold.
Yes. And if you ever want more content with Adobe Express, every single Thursday, 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Pacific time, we are here in the studio live from San Francisco showing you a little bit of Adobe Express. So it'll be stuff like this, to where we work in Illustrator and then show you some Express. We work in Photoshop, show you a little bit of Express. So you'll be able to learn in pieces and have a lot of fun with that.
When you said a little bit of Express, I was thinking a little bit Alexis. Have you ever seen
a little bit Alexis?
Schitt's
Yes.
Creek. A little bit of.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we're putting.
Oh, someone's saying it looks really good. I agree.
Thank you. Yes, it's been so fun already just to paint on this guy. And I will, of course, show you the finished product on my social media when this is fully finished. And then also when it is printed. Another point I want to make is that there is usually a gap between when you order a sticker and when you want to post about it. Sometimes you're like, I made a thing and I need to show you now, because if I wait until after it's done, maybe the month is over and you can't get it now.
Yep.
So to give yourself the lead time on that, you can post the image that you are creating of it instead of waiting for it to come in the mail. And that is something that Express absolutely will help do, because it makes your images look like something it's finished.
Yep.
It's ready.
Yeah, and adding backgrounds, adding animations, all that fun stuff, super easy. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's really coming together. I think it's really coming together.
I had no idea it was going to be this colorful. When I came in today, I was like, okay, we're going to do a few colors, but
and I like the take on the new year not being just the red dragon that you see everywhere, that it's a different dragon with a different story. And someone said, yes, we have a whole lore for this dragon, 100%.
Luna is a force.
Luna has a story.
I mean, you came up with that. That was amazing. Off the cuff. I mean, Andrew is nothing if not a storyteller.
Hey, you put me in space with the dragon and I will give you a story. That's...
I love this stream already.
This is so fun. This is looking so good. And what's cool is we'll show you once we get to that step in the workflow, you are able to save a PSD and take that into Express to kind of play around with stuff. So
I think we should do it. I think what we should do is, you want to use libraries to do it?
Maybe. Let's finish the illustration first, and then we can pull things together and work through that.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, libraries is going to get really weird and wonky. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just do.
And not because libraries is wonky, because of the machine we're on is going to get weird. But we can upload the PSD, and I think that we also can copy and paste. Don't quote me on that, but I think it will work.
Okay. Excellent.
And someone's saying, has Anna incorporated Express? Not yet. We're getting there. We're going to get into Express in just a bit.
Absolutely.
And while you continue doing that, I am going to check if you can copy and paste from Photoshop. So continue on with your journey.
Good idea. Thank you so much for checking that. So yeah, there are a myriad of ways that we could go with this design, and the idea of swallowing stars is now making me want to like maybe imply a little bit of star action going on in the belly. So I'm just going to create one more layer. We've got all of our colors here on their separate layers. You can see as I click through, these are just the different colors that are on top of each other. And what I'm going to do is create a probably very close to white yellow and just put a few little stars in here and just see what happens. What do we feel? What do we say? What do you think? Like the idea of
I like the idea of stars.
Okay. Maybe... it's hard to decide sometimes the sizing of things because you have to think, how big is this sticker going to be and is it going to read? So that's the kind of thing I want to think about, and maybe I just make these little dots.
Yep. And guess what? Yes, you can copy and paste from Photoshop directly into Adobe Express, which is really, really cool.
I'm so excited.
Also, if you save your PSD, which we'll do, we have to do a little bit of different workflow to get it into Express from what we have here. But if you save your PSD, it will open in Express and convert, and it will have all of your layers there, so you can add animation and kind of play around with your design. But we're not there yet. I just want to give you a little preview of where we're going. Just a little tease, and we will get there, and we will walk through it together and learn together.
Absolutely. All right, I feel like the line layer is getting a little lost in here, so what I want to do is, again, add a hue saturation layer to it, and I'm going to clip it. Whoop, there we go. And I'm going to just test out how it would look with a lighter, oh yeah, this is black at the base.
Yep.
So one of the things, another hot tip.
Yep.
If you want to ever fill a layer with a different color than what you have, I'm going to lock the pixels of this layer, which is right at the top of the layers panel. There's a little checkerboard icon, which is so important because, again, I use this all the time. It locks the pixels, meaning if you fill this layer while they're locked, it won't change any of the artwork that you have on that layer. It'll stay to the pixels that are there, but you can have a new color in its place. So I'm going to use, let's just do any color and then we can adjust it. I'm going to fill that, boom. And then I can use this to adjust much more easily because it's not adjusting black now. It is adjusting a color underneath.
And you also can click on the colorize button right underneath if you're working with black. You can click on colorize and it will assign it a color, and then you can change the saturation so you don't have to fill it with a new color.
I never knew.
Oh yeah. So if you delete like your color layer that you did,
I can just go back.
And just have it be black, you can click on that colorize and it will assign it a random color, and then you can...
Let's do it. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you're trying to adjust black and you're like, nothing's happening.
Yep.
Colorize?
Yep, right there.
Let's do it.
And it just assigns it to a random color. You can change the hue and saturation.
What?
There
it is.
Yep.
Boom. That is a game changer.
Magic. So
oh my gosh, thank you.
We're learning together. Yay, tip for me.
Here's your tip. $20.
Yes, and we are up to almost 30 already, chat. So again, tune in the rest of the day. We are doing 50 of the best tips from Adobe Creative Cloud. I know that Lisa Carney is coming up with a ton, and Jesus is going to close out the closer. He's going to go to the bat, and it is going to be grand slam of just tips and tips and tips of everything that you need to know over in Photoshop.
Absolutely. All right, I think that's awesome.
Yes, love this dark purple.
Okay, excellent. I'm into everything. I could dial in here and there, add a little bit more mark making, all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But I really want to get this into Express and have us time to have fun.
Cool. So there are a couple different things that we can do here. And here, let's talk about the issues first. So some of the issues, Adobe Express doesn't import things like adjustment layers. Mm-hmm. Because adjustment layers are so specific to Photoshop and the way that they affect the pixels below them, it won't do a great job at importing those kind of things. So let's go ahead and save this.
Yes.
And then what we'll do is just save another copy, and we'll kind of format that to be used in Adobe Express. So
now, could I group and flatten?
Yes. So that's what I think we should do.
Excellent.
Is save a version that is not going to destroy what you have.
So non-destructive is like the name of the game.
Non-destructive is the name of the game. And we can actually leave some of the pieces, we should probably start a new document, or at least save it as a new document.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I want to see what happens though.
Okay, we can see what happens.
I just want to see. Okay, so we've got a new group. By pressing Alt Option and dragging, you can duplicate layers or groups.
Yes.
Hot tip. And then to collapse it, all I have to do is Command or Control E, and boom, there it is, our layer.
Do you know the hotkey to make a new layer of everything that is showing on your canvas?
Yes. Which
That's
is
my
like,
favorite.
It's the longest hotkey
It
in
is.
life.
It's like Control Alt Shift E.
Yes.
And it will basically take anything that you can see and make a new layer of that. So if you ever need that, if you ever need to like destroy your layers but still have them, you can do that. Okay, so awesome. We made a merged version of it, and now I think that we can just copy and paste directly from Photoshop into Adobe Express.
Hello. All right, so I'm going to press Instagram Square Post.
Okay.
Let's make a new one. And then we are going to just Command or Control V and see what happens.
Yes, and I had to do it. I had to like hit it a couple times. I do think that what's happening. Okay, here we go.
Let's see.
Tech time. Do we have camera? We don't have camera 2 set up. I was about to do a camera 2 kind of. So what I think is happening is it is taking what you copy from Photoshop, and let's try one more time, just back and forth, because I did do it. It took me a couple back and forths, and it worked.
Okay, Command.
So
C.
if we are trying to copy and paste from Photoshop, what I think is happening is it is taking the pixels that we have there. Did we select it? That's what it was. There was no selection happening.
Okay,
That's what it was.
So Command, and then click on the thumbnail of what you're creating. If you're pressing Command or Control, you can click on the thumbnail.
And it's going to get all those pixels. Studio Manager setting up camera 2, so chat, you're going to get like an up close and personal from me.
That's so funny.
All right, let's paste it in, see what happens.
Is it going to do it? Command V, Command V.
I swear it worked. I swear it worked.
I believe you. It's just kind of the way it goes.
Okay, so
we're on again.
Let's select the whole artboard. Let's try that. So I have whole artboard selected.
How do you do that in Photoshop?
Now complete. So Control A or Command A.
Command
whole
A.
thing. Yep. And then Command C to copy.
Command C.
And then over into Express.
And then
Command V.
It did it!
It did it! We got it! Yes!
Okay, so here is the whole thing. You have to select the entire thing. That was the change maker.
You have to select the
Thank
entire
you,
thing, yes.
Andrew.
And let's try something. Can you click on that image real quick?
Yeah. Right there. Boom. It's got the edges. The bounding edges.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah?
I was looking for some stuff.
What stuff?
No, you keep going. You keep going. I might have another tip chat, but we have it in Express now. What are we going to be doing in Express?
Okay, so there are all sorts of templates that you can look through to see if you want to start from something. You don't have to start from scratch. So real quick, I'm just going to look through and see if anything catches my eye, because this is a very detailed sticker. I kind of want a more mellow background. I'm thinking that this one would probably be a good one. Add as pages, is that a thing?
So yes, actually. So we can add as a page. So we're working with a template. That's a template.
Yes.
And so what we can do is we can actually just grab and copy all the stuff that we want and then get rid of the things that we don't.
Okay, I'm just going to do the whole thing.
Yep, and we can Control C, Control V. You can do that between pages in Adobe Express.
Boom.
Right there. And then the background color we can set. Yeah, we can kill the text and then we can set the background color.
Yes, and I'm bringing the sticker to the front.
Cool.
Okay, do we like this font or do you want a different one? What do you think? I'm going to do a different one. Make it our own. Okay, so we've got these stars that are very cute. It's a minimal background. It's got this really soft pink kind of cream color behind it. And what I want to say is like new sticker of the month kind of thing.
Fun.
So we have the text tool and we can just we can really go crazy with text. There are so many options.
There's a lot there. So there are a lot of templates for text that you can do, but you also can just add your own text to the button at the top. There's a lot of settings that you can augment in there as well, but there are a ton of things. And someone's saying, would blow my mind if one day it would bring over layers from Photoshop. Well, today's that day. Put on a hat because it does that.
Here. I want this.
So yeah, if you have a PSD that has layers, all you need to do is go to Start from My Content on the Adobe Express homepage, and you can start from a PSD, and it will bring in every one of those layers for you. Now, with the caveat that it does not bring in adjustment layers. So if you are working with like a gradient map, or you're working with a hue saturation layer, it won't bring those in, sadly.
Sad.
But I'm sure someone knows. I'm sure someone's working on it. It's really cool. If you had a transparent background and select all, would the image transfer over into Express? Yes, is the answer. Yes.
Yay. Thank you so much for answering all of our Express questions, because I am a newbie at this one, and it is something that I want to relate to you guys with, because I think it is actually really valuable to have somebody who's new and somebody who's experienced work through a program together.
We learn together.
And even you, who are very experienced in this program, learned new things in the last stream. Again, check out the last stream. It was there were so many things, so many tips, you guys.
So much knowledge. There were exactly 19 tips. Well, there were less, but I've earned some more back.
You've earned so many.
Yes.
So many tips. So you wanted to show something off?
Yes, I'm deleting some stuff real quick.
Excellent.
All right, so if we want to hop over onto my screen, can we do that, Studio Manager?
Is it?
Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. All right, so what I can do is I have this document here, right? And it has some layers here that have some masks on it. And I actually don't know how it does with oh my goodness, what is the word I want? With masking. So we have a few layers here, right? We've got our adjustments, we've got the background, and then we have another one here. So this is just an example of what you can do with Adobe Express. So we're gonna save this, and I'm just gonna save this as like Orchard. And we're going to save it on the computer. We're going to save it as a PSD. I'm going to put it in my downloads. And then if you're working on something, imagine you have a lot more layers. It's a lot more complex. As long as you don't have things like adjustment layers in there, check this out. You click right here, start from your content, and then you're going to go to downloads and click on Orchard. From there, we're going to open, and it will convert our image into an Adobe Express document, and all of our layers will be there directly out of the PSD. So this works with PSDs as well as .ai files right there. And hello, Wade is here. Nice to see you, Wade. All right, let's hop back over. Oh wait, actually, sorry. Open and check this out, chat. All of our layers are right here. And then if you wanted to, you could come in here. We could remove that background with one click. And sometimes it's easier to do this in Express than Photoshop. So super easy, super fun, boom, done. So yes, your layers right out of the PSD. All right, back to you. We got about 3 to 5 minutes.
Let's do an animation, because honestly, this does not have to be a crazy, intense thing.
Oh, yes.
All it needs is just like, oh, hey,
Ooh,
here I am.
yeah.
New sticker this month.
That's fun.
And then we can loop. What do you think? Like, let's do a pulse, just to be different from the last stream, you know?
Yep.
I want the duration to be there, but I want it to.
Ooh.
Yeah. What do you think?
Flying in from the skies. I love it.
Luna. Whoa.
Whoa. The pulse. Okay, the pulse is scary.
Yeah,
it
the pulse is a little scary.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's get rid of this pulse.
Get
I don't want to
here.
scare you. Breathe. What do you think that?
Ooh, I think breathe, but like a slow breathe. And you can actually change the dynamics and the properties of it. So there's soft, there's intense, there's energetic, all kinds of different settings that you can do there, which is really cool.
A very low intensity, so it's just slightly moving.
Ooh,
so
I love
if you
that.
saw this on your Instagram feed, you would just be like, oh, what's that motion? A little eye-catching, but the emphasis is on the artwork, because that's the sticker that I'm trying to show people.
Yep.
And that is all you really need, is like a basic background, the information that you're trying to convey. A little bit of animation goes a really long way. And there is a share button right at the top of the screen.
Yes.
So you don't even have to exit this program to get it to your socials, and you can schedule
You
things.
can schedule it to post on the own, which is really cool. And if we want to button it up and finish it off with a background color, right up at the top, and this is just a tip because I know that people like don't always see it, over on the left, actually in the middle. Left, left,
Left?
right
Background
there.
color.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the background color, I actually have to look for this all the time. It's right there. So I'm used to working in the layers and finding it in the layers, but the background color is right up there for you if you want to add some kind of custom background color for your design. And now we have this awesome sticker of the month promo. Yay! And let's play one more time.
All right, let's see it. And I could do a voiceover too.
Yes, you could. You could. So let's look at your Photoshop, just because I want to look at the detail of the dragon one more time. This is what we created today. Tell us about our dragon.
Luna the dragon used to be the bunny of last year, the rabbit. Except the rabbit went to the moon.
It jumped too high and went to the moon.
Inhaled moon dust and crumbled into dust itself. But from the ashes, whoosh, Luna was born. This is the year of the dragon, y'all. The year of
Yes,
change.
the year of the
Eat
dragon.
those stars.
Yes.
Become the dragon.
Yes, it has to grow. Luna 8 stars, which is what you see in the belly. So thanks so much for joining us. We have some great content. Jesús Ramirez and Lisa Carney are coming up. To finish off, we are at the 25... We are at 32 tips, so we only need 18 more in the next 2 streams to do our promise of 50. Stick around, it's going to be a great time, and we will see you for the rest of the day here on Adobe Live. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Everybody, welcome back to another very exciting Adobe Live. I am your host, Jesús Ramirez, and with me today is the amazing Lisa Carney. Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Hey, honey, I'm doing really, really good. Glad to be back with you.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. We've done 10 of these,
Yeah.
who knows, together.
Yeah, we're old hat.
We've done it a million times. It's so great to see the people in the chat saying hello. We have Robert, thank you so much for joining us. Robert, Ryan, Arshia, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Thank you so much for being here with us. Today we're going to...
Hi,
you know Ryan?
Oh, I do.
Oh, hey,
From
Ryan.
Louisiana.
From
Hi,
Louisiana.
sweetheart.
But yeah, today, tell us a little bit about what we're going to learn today, Lisa.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, 2004 is all about collaboration for me. Collaborating with you, collaborating with other people, and actually collaborating with software.
Okay.
So I want to talk about using Lightroom, Photoshop, and Firefly to do some stuff.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, and all in the spirit of mixing and matching. Because do you ever feel like we often get trapped in, oh, you'll only use Photoshop or you're only going to use Lightroom? And it's and. Everything is and.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, and I feel like people, especially people like you and maybe even me, they know us, oh, they do Photoshop. But that's not the only thing that we do. And a lot of the work that I'm sure you're going to show reflects the collaboration of many different apps, not just Photoshop.
Well, anymore, I think we have to.
Yeah.
Like, this is paramount for career now. Things are changing so fast. AI is crackers coming along. Woo! And you have to be able to pivot. Right? Don't you think? And I think one of the cool things about Jesus and I doing this together is we do this work together. We build these movie posters together, and we are jumping between software.
Right.
It's not just Photoshop. It's Lightroom, but maybe it's Lightroom inside Photoshop, which is the Camera Raw filter. And I don't know if folks know that when you look at Lightroom, that's ACR, Adobe Camera Raw. So you can utilize that in Photoshop.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm looking at a lot of these images that are playing on screen now, and I'm like having little flashbacks of like, oh yeah, I remember working on that.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
They completely killed everything we did except for, I think on the yellow jacket, the only thing that I did there ended up just being the spheres because everything else they killed.
Well, and talk about technology changes. That Yellow Jackets finish, which was a huge lift. I mean, there's a lot of elements. You guys can check it out on impawards.com if you want to look at the poster close up. But there were so many elements. Can you imagine now that GenFill's legal?
Right.
How different that job would have been?
Yeah.
I think it would have cut the job in half.
Yeah.
Time-wise?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And by legal, we mean out of beta and you can use it commercially.
Exactly right. That's good to be good to be really clear.
Yeah.
So, and how staying on top of technology is so important.
Absolutely.
You know, even for jobs like this, like Jesus and I do a lot of beauty work together, and product stuff like this. This is kind of bread and butter job, but we will get images like this where it's like, oh, can you clean this photo up? And the answer is not to clean this photo up. The answer is to consider a different software like Substance 3D and do it in a different program. Well, where do you learn that? Well, you learn that by collaborating with other people. So I will contact Jesus and I'm like, hey, we've got this job. What do you think we should do? And he's like, oh, no, we should do this forget Photoshop. This is Substance.
Right.
Right? Cool.
Yeah.
So I can be found on Instagram if you're curious and see some of this work, or Behance. Behance is a great place to show your work and get noticed. And I'm talking about collaboration. Well, where do you find people to collaborate with? Behance would be an awesome, awesome resource.
I definitely agree. Yeah, Behance, and pretty much anywhere that you show off your work. That could also be other social medias, but Behance is a network specifically for creators.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, 2024 is all about collaboration, either software collaboration or people collaboration. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is the ecosystem, like not limiting yourself to this desktop.
Right.
Or laptop or phone. It's and. So this demo today, I kind of want to integrate phone, mobile with desktop. Yeah. So collaboration of software. Like, consider the whole palette part of your arsenal, your toolkit, not just one thing. And maybe I'm beating this horse so much because this was something that took me a really long time to do. It took me a long time to navigate outside of Photoshop and go to Lightroom. And now Lightroom Mobile.
Wow.
Like years. Took me years. That's
Wait, Lisa, but
embarrassing.
you're a professional. Why are you using Lightroom Mobile?
Yeah, because all pros use. Lightroom is Lightroom. Because if I go backwards for a second, if we look at that ecosystem, if you're using Lightroom Mobile, the minute I get to my studio, that file is on my desktop. The second I log in. And so it's no longer that you have to do one or the other. So yeah, so should we keep talking about this?
Yeah,
Talk
let's
about-
do it. Yeah,
Awesome.
let's go.
So I am not device snob. You can be on an Android or you can be on an iPhone. It don't matter. Lightroom is cross-platform. Heck fire, y'all can even use a DSLR and transfer those files to your mobile device, right? And edit on your mobile device or iPad. So however you want to get there, just get there.
And just so you guys know, Lisa is an iPhone user. I am an Android user. I have the Google Pixel. She's got the iPhone. She doesn't seem
We
happy
are
about
apple,
that.
potato, tomato, potatoes, potatoes. We are definitely that group. So I do want to reiterate, because everything you see will be on an iPhone for me. You don't have to be on an iPhone. You can do this stuff being on an Android. And you can actually add to your device to actually work in Lightroom by clicking on the device. You don't have to have these already loaded in Lightroom. You can load on the device. Does that make sense? So you can shoot it with your native Apple app, iPhone camera, your Google Pixel, whatever heck you call that app, because I don't even know. Or as I said, you can take it from a DSLR and load it up into your mobile device and work.
The point is you can get a picture on there.
Yes. So in Lightroom, and I'm going to say Lightroom Mobile, but it's Lightroom. It's just not Lightroom Classic. Now, all these items are available in Lightroom Classic. I just happen to be talking about Lightroom. So either desktop, iPad, or phone. And they've got some great new stuff. So lens blur, holy guacamole. So cool. I'm going to show a beautiful picture of Jesus later.
Well, I don't know about beautiful, but thank you.
Well, it should be beautiful when we're done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There is, I'm not going to talk about it today, but you should be aware there is an HDR optimization workflow. So if you're an HDR shooter, so if you shoot with a DSLR camera and you have an HD and you want to work in HDR, you can still process it on your mobile device. You can access images easily from your device. And if any of you have already been using Lightroom, that used to be a little more painful. Now it is seamless. They have a point color adjustment now, which is great. And you can also offload.
Ooh.
What do I mean by offload? I mean, you can have everything on Lightroom in the cloud and decide, hey, I feel insecure about this. I want this on a hard drive. For safety, you can now do that easily. So those of you who are using Classic because you can't offload it, now you can.
Right?
Choices. Now, I want to talk about doing something really different. I want to talk about, very exciting, thinking about Lightroom differently. So Lightroom is not Photoshop, and you can't add textures in a layer in Lightroom. But wait a minute. Yes, you can.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about how you can think of Lightroom differently and add textures in Lightroom. It's a bit of a backdoor entry, if I would say that, a little unusual, but hopefully it'll inspire you to think differently and to experiment. I'm all about experimenting with the mobile device because it's so fast. 3 a.m, you're laying there, you can do some stuff. So one of the things I want to talk about is controlling blur, value, color, and adding texture all through Lightroom with the spirit of experimenting. Cool. So I know I'm showing you guys a lot of slides before I get into this, but I think it's good to see where you're going to go before we go. This is how my brain works, right?
Makes a lot of sense.
All right. So you can get so many different looks while you're on your mobile device and show your client if you have clients and go, hey, what do you like? What should we do? Or for your own artistic expression and just experiment, all mobile. All right. So heavy lifting. That's good. Let's talk about the Lightroom ecosystem. Inside Lightroom, you have, I think it's 15 different modules. Masking, healing, crop with geometry, presets, auto, which is a great module. Hardly anybody uses auto. I don't know why. We also have light. Inside that light, you'll notice the new button down at the bottom. That's that HDR mode if you want to use that. There's effects. There are details, which is like sharpening, that kind of thing. Geometry has now been moved. Just going to give you a little peek. Geometry is now buried inside the crop. Don't be afraid of that. That's just where it's been moved to. There's profiles, which gives you film looks. Optics, which gives you lens correction. I mean, holy guacamole, you guys. Look at this color. This is one little device, right? With all these in it. Blur, versions, and reset. This is a darkroom. This is a darkroom in your hands. So I'm a heavy editor. I don't know if you're a heavy editor, but I'm definitely a heavy editor. Like, I really like to push. Look at that, like, little, actually, this side. Look how different that image got because I'm editing heavily. Yeah, little.
There we go. That.
So this is the power of Lightroom, is all these ginormous modules that do, and look at how much, there's so much data in there. There's so much to this little app. Now I'm going to really concentrate in these areas. Like this is really where I think the meat and potatoes are. These functions, the blur, oh my heavens, if you haven't tried it, please download Lightroom immediately while I'm talking, and Lightroom Mobile, and check this out. So what you can now do is shift your focus after capture using lens blur. Now, this is an early access. You'll see in a couple of slides here that keeps saying early access. That means they're still working it out and it's still improving, but it's phenomenal. I use it on jobs all the time now. I mean, all the time. And there's some really cool things you can change. This is me showing you what I'm going to show you before I show you. All right, we'll absolutely do a demo. So you can focus by subject, or you can actually use a point and point focus. And then do you see that orange bar in the middle? Jesus, I'm sure you know about this already. That will show you the depth map. So if you actually want to see the focus, you can see it in a colored format, which is really, really handy. And as I said, there is subject and point, and look at that. Look at Jesus.
Wow,
Hey, honey, you're so cute. Do you see that says device depth map? So if you guys use a native app and you shoot with the portrait mode, right? It uses the 2 cameras on the back to give you a depth of field. That will import into Lightroom.
Super cool.
I mean, so cool. And it works with the Android as well, but in a slightly different way. So I don't use Android. I'm an iPhone user, so I have a little bias here. All right. So I want to show you some Lightroom edits using this. And then after we talk about some editing, I'm going to show you the texturing.
Sounds good.
Cool.
And by the way, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have with the applications you're going to be showing, Lisa,
Awesome.
and the examples.
So I'm going to switch to my phone. So let me just put this here, and hopefully this is good enough for y'all to see. Let me move it over here, and I'm just going to close this down. I like to walk and talk at the same time. All right, so I'm going to go back to an image, and let's take a look at, let's say, this image here. And I'm going to press and long hold. So here's the original. Here's the original. Here's the after. And I mean, that's pretty darn different. And that's done all with my phone. Again, press and long hold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to my versions on the top, and I'm going to reset this to original. But before I do that, can I show you something? Do you guys see all these versions? I can experiment and practice with all these different looks, and save them as a version. Okay, so you just tap apply to save whatever version you have. In fact, I'm going to go back to current. I'm going to keep the current, and I'm just going to delete some stuff here. Hang on one second. Let me do this one. All right. So one of the things I did was crop. So that's a pretty basic thing. I'm going to go ahead and leave the crop, and I'm going to go to the mask. Now, I want to show you this first. Again, I always like to show what I've done first. So I'm going to tap on this tab and pull this back.
Ooh.
Look how many masks you can make in Lightroom. So I can actually, I'm going to delete these really quickly and show you how easy this is. I'm just going to tap on the 3 buttons on the side and delete. Look at this. I'm going to recommend for housekeeping you consider naming your masks, because it's really, really handy to name your mask. Let me just do this. Sorry, I should have done this before, but that's all right. All right. So right now I have a basic edit, what I think most people would be used to doing in any kind of Lightroom. I have a light, so I've just done contrast, just changed some contrast, and I've done color. So I like to work in black and white. That's the color image. I like black and white. And then now we have this new blur function. So let me talk to you about the blur function. Now, please note, early access on the top. Sometimes this blur can be a little funky chicken, but basically what you do is you just tap on the blur button and you can add blurring. This might take a minute. I'm going to tap on the top mask. Do you guys see that on the top where that red button goes? That will show you what is getting blurred with the color map. And it's effectively using the select subject. So this is AI driven, okay? And I'm going to tap OK on that, and I'm going to tap and long hold, and I think I'm getting a little bit of an error here because it's not showing. I'm going to let it catch up on the wet. This is all connected to the internet. And let me go to the mask and show you the masking. So I'm going to tap on the masking and I'm going to do select subject. Now when I tap on select subject, you get a mask. Look how well it selected her. Now, you guys probably don't see this black and white. When you tap on the hamburger on the upper right, do you see what you get here? You get overlay and mode. Do you see where it says mode here? You can tap on that, and most people do color overlay. This is how most of you will look at it. Why did I have it black and white? Can you guess? What would your guess be?
I don't know. Maybe so we can see what's actually selected.
That's exactly right. I'm a Photoshop girl, and I like to see my mask in black and white because on this device, it could be really challenging to see what you have with the color overlay. And when you have it in the mask mode like this, you can really see it.
Right.
So what I want to do is, let's say I want to give her a little texture and clarity, and she's a little dark, isn't she? At least on my screen, she looks a little dark. So I'm going to bring up her highlights and maybe bring up her exposure, right? So now, what if I want to do the background?
Is there a background select?
Is there let's see, select. Well, heck fire, there's no background select. No, but what can you do? You can tap on select subject. And then, very important, look here, gang. The little yin and yang sign right there. We'll flip it, and now I have my background selected. And now I can change my background edit. Now, hands here, right? I flip the mask, you can't see anything. The minute I move the slider, then you can start seeing stuff. So you can choose to darken or lighten. So I'm gonna darken the background, but you know what? She looks cut out, doesn't she?
A little bit, yeah.
Looks a little poopy. What I'd like to do,
and that's a technical
poopy
term, by the way.
Is
poopy,
absolutely a technical term. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to subtract from that mask. Pay attention, subtract. So see the plus and minus sign here? I'm going to say, hey, let's subtract from that mask. Jesus, how should we subtract? I'm going to pick a radial gradient.
Ooh.
So I'm going to say, hey, I would like to subtract from this darkening with a radial gradient. Do you guys see that? So now, if I look at my mask, that's what my mask, oops, excuse me, sorry. That's what the mask looks like. Now, I'd like to pull that radial gradient out even more. So I'm going to zoom in with my fingers and make that radial gradient heavier, right? You can make it smaller or tighter. Okay, so now look how big. Can you see this little?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is how you can start making more editing changes. I'm going to do one more gradient map. I'm going to add a new radial gradient, and I'm going to do it just her, right? I'm going to zoom back in. And remember, see, you only see the mask. I actually want to see what I'm doing. The minute you do a slider, the mask will disappear. So now I have a radial gradient, but, oh, she's too light now. I want to subtract from this one. So I'm going to say, hey, Lightroom, can you take her out of that mask? Yes, select subject. So do you see what you get? You get all these changes. So all this, you can have 42 masks. Did you know that? 42 different masks on your phone. Okay, so this is a basic edit here, but I would like to now show you textures.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'm going to switch back to my, Keynote because I want to show you it first. Oh, I'm a spaz. Have you met me, Spazzy Lisa here? Hang on, let me do it my usual way. All right. So that was just a super, super basic edit, right? Super basic, but pretty cool and powerful. Now, what I want to talk to you about is adding textures. And this is a little complicated, so I want you to bear with me because it's multiple steps. And I hope you find this interesting. So I've got an original image here. I processed it in Lightroom, very much like I just did that gal. And then I added this texture, a PNG texture. What? This is now combining Photoshop files. Ooh. All right, so let me show you again. So this is the kind of textures I'm going to put on top. These are like a tintype looking thing, and I'm going to show you how to make something like this in Firefly, which is very exciting.
Ooh, should be fun.
And this would be textures created in Firefly.
So those were created in Firefly.
Sorry, these are created in Firefly. Let me go back one. Yes.
Okay.
So I just want to show you how we can utilize this. So with this gal, I've got the picture, I've got my edit, whatever I've done. I've used a blur, and I apologize that blur didn't come through yet, but take my word for it, it's there. I'll show it to you again in a second. But now we're going to add texture through Lightroom, and this is really unusual. A lot of people don't know you can actually do this. You can apply textures through Lightroom. However, it's kind of secret how you do it. You use it under the export as function. So when you go to export as on the mobile device, you can include a watermark. Do you see where it says watermark up there? You tap on that, and this is where the good bits come. So you can have preloaded a graphic. They did this for logos. It was meant for, watermarking logos, but we figured out you can actually do textures with this. So what I'm going to do, I already have preloaded a graphic, and you use it and put it in as a logo, only it's not a logo. So definitely it's a graphic, but it's preloaded. Do you understand what I mean by preloaded?
Yeah.
So you have to have access to it on your phone. Okay, so you have to already have made one. And I've got a bunch of samples of this. I'm going to show you how to walk through it, but it's all the same thing. So these are different samples doing the same kind of technique. And I'm going to walk you through the technique in just a second here. Let me see what my next slide is. Okay, then we'll do Firefly after that. So let's go back to the phone and let me walk you through this. I think I have to tell you, Jesus, when I found out that you could do this, it completely changed my life in Lightroom, completely. So the export as, where do you get that? You get that on the top. Look here on the screen, you guys. You get that on the share. So I'm going to share this, right? All right, we're going to share it. Here's the share menu. You've got save, copy, share, border. This is not a border. And then you have export. This is what you want. You want to export this image. All right, couple caveats. Please make a note. You have to do this with a JPEG, a TIFF. You cannot do this with a DNG. Let me be 1,000% clear. It has to be a TIFF or a JPEG. I'm going to go ahead and have it be a TIFF. And do you see where it says watermark down here on the bottom? Watermark, you want to tap on that. Yours probably will be off if you've never done it before. And then tap on the arrow to customize. All right, so I've already got one loaded up here. This is really important, gang. Don't let me lose you here, because I know this is a little complicated. You could have a text, or you can have a graphic. You want to be on graphic. And then do you see this little picture icon with the plus right up here on the top, right there? That is where you browse. So I'm going to browse to where I put my files. You are going to put your files wherever you put them. I use them on my iCloud drive. You'll see that right there. And then they're all the way at the bottom. And I have a folder I created on my iDrive called Logos and Graphics, because I do this a lot. I really like this technique. And then I'm going to tap on borders. I think I misspelled borders there, but nobody cares. And then I can pick on whatever element. Like I happen to make a tin type square is what I made. And when you bring it in, that's what it looks like. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to pick another image, another border. I hope that people are finding this interesting.
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you think about this
technique. Yeah, I'm really
technique.
curious.
Yeah.
Now, I have pre-made borders that fit for my picture. So this one is a horizontal, and it's not going to work. It's a little limited. Well, actually, I probably could do it on this side. So what the hell, I'll do it with this. So obviously, I'm going to have to probably crop this, right, and do some more adjustment. And this is that collaboration thing I was talking about again. Even within Lightroom, it's not a one and done. I'm doing it, and then I'm going to go back into Lightroom and make more changes. Okay, so you want to be flexible about that. It's not just one. So in this thing, I'd like you to notice on the custom watermark menu, look at the top. You have to tap on the back arrow. You're basically saying, yep, I'm cool with that. Now I'm here. Okay, review. TIFF, largest size, 8-bit, no compression. I'm good. Now you tap on the plus. Okay, so there's a lot of buttons. Save photo. Where am I going to save it? And do you guys notice, look at the picture of her. There's no texture on her. What? Yeah, you don't see the texture when you're in Lightroom. This gets a little confusing, but you're going to bear with me. So as I'm exporting, I'm going to go ahead and export it right back into Lightroom. Right back into Lightroom. Got it. Let's launch Lightroom. Now, it leaves you right here, right? I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. It's my old image. I'm done. You have to make some decisions. So now I'm going to go back to my Lightroom menu bar, and I'm going to go, I can either do imports or all photos, and it'll be the next one on the top. So check this out. So there she is, and I want to crop this. I'm going to go ahead and leave a little bit of an edge. Why did I bring it back into Lightroom? I brought it back into Lightroom because if you were in Photoshop, you could actually change the contrast, right? Well, I've now added a layer or an element to this in Lightroom, and now I want to play with the contrast. So now this is a brand new image with this texture embedded in the file. I cannot take this off this TIFF that I imported, but I still have the original, right? So it's all non-destruct in that sense. And so now let's go to the mask again, and I'm going to tap on the mask, and I'm going to use something called luminance range. And I can say, hey, select the highlights or select the shadows, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and select the shadows, hit apply. Oh, that mask, that's weird, right? Yeah, you can turn the mask off if you want or leave it on. I'm going to go ahead and remember, you still see the mask until you make a move. And now I'm going to change the contrast and maybe make it darker. Do you see I can change the contrast. I can bring the highlights down. Let me bring the shadows up. Now, ew, it's on her face. That looks terrible. I don't want to do that. You know how to subtract a mask. That's a mask. There's a little minus or subtract button there on the bottom. Hey, let's take some of that off her. I can do it with a brush, or I can do it with a linear or radial gradient. I'm going to go ahead and do it with a radial gradient. And then I can just take that change off her. So can you guys sort of imagine the possibility of what you can do? All kinds of textures. You can do rain, you can do snow, you can do lighting effects and put them in Lightroom and then go on. Now, why would you do this versus Photoshop? Well, what if I want to do this while I'm out there at the lake? I want to create this whole image right out there in the lake. Well, I can do that because it's on my mobile device.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, this is so flexible, and I'm going to probably confess something. It's a little embarrassing, but I am all about 3 a.m. work. I can't sleep, and I get an idea. And in fact, Lily, this little girl, she's so sweet. Her mama had passed, and she and her best friend, who's my niece, came up for a visit to my house, and she was just sad. This poor little boo was so sad. And so I was really feeling her, and I wanted to make a dark, sad picture because I was just, I just felt like making an expression of something. And I could do it at 3 a.m. Now, why am I doing this at 3 a.m? Well, I don't want to get up and get my computer.
Right.
I'm laying in bed, and I'm doing all this editing on my phone very comfortably.
And you can then take it to the computer if you want.
And then I could take it to the computer to clean it up. Absolutely. So hopefully you guys found this interesting because a lot of this, most people don't know this is available.
Yeah. Nate and Wade say they found this very helpful.
Oh, good. Awesome. So let me go back to my my keynote here because I just want to reiterate a few points about this. All right. So you guys can take a screen capture of this if you like. Just to remind you, the idea is you go to Export As. Okay. You want to include a watermark. You have to pre-make those textures. Pre-make your textures. So I'm going to show you how to make some of these textures in just a second right now.
Do it.
Yeah. And then you load it as a graphic and you navigate to wherever it is on the phone. And when you export it, you're not going to see it in Lightroom. You're going to either see it wherever you export your image. So I exported it to Lightroom, but you can export to your camera roll.
Yep.
Okay? Awesome. And you can look how much fun you can have. All sorts of cool photos. Yeah, you can tell I like this effect.
Well, and then you didn't mention it earlier, but in one of your slides, you actually had a movie poster that I believe you worked on that has the same effect.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And okay, I don't want to admit this. I did that movie poster effect on my phone.
Really?
I did.
Can we see the poster again?
Yes. I'm going to escape out of here for 1 second. Please ignore the woman behind the curtain.
There we go.
Yeah.
What?
All of these pictures were done on my phone.
So, Working Man. I haven't seen. Is that a movie or a show?
It is a movie.
I haven't seen it.
It is a movie. Yeah.
Wow.
They didn't end up going with that poster.
Oh.
Yeah. I use this professionally, 100%, by the way. 100% I use this on jobs. So that's really important to know. Also, I will tell you, if you go to my website at lisacarney.com, I have some of these textures you can download. So,
Amazing.
Yes, let me go back real quick and we'll go to the next section about these. So I want to be 100% clear because sometimes I say it once and I think people understand it. Maybe they don't. It has to be a PNG.
PNG.
With a transparency. Otherwise, the whole picture will be obliterated. Okay, so it has to be a PNG. So we're going to go into Photoshop for that.
Okay.
However, I'm going to start the texture in Firefly.
Ooh, Firefly.
What? Yes. This is that thing we were talking about. I was talking, the royal we. Collaboration. Collaborations with software even. So these textures were created in Photoshop and applied through Lightroom, but how did they start? Did they start as a photograph, or did they start as a AI-generated Firefly texture? So I do both. These are actual photos, but I've actually done textures that you see here, all created in Firefly.
Amazing.
Yes, it is absolutely amazing. So let's skip ahead on my slides here. I know this is a little complicated, but I feel like this is showing the depth of Lightroom.
Right.
Like, holy guacamole, I almost said a bad word. What you can do, hang on, sorry, let me get through these extra slides here real
I think
quick.
Jacob will bleep you if you say some naughty.
I'll try not to say a naughty word, but I'm very excited. All right, so when you are in Firefly, hopefully you have all tried Firefly. I use Firefly for things like textures and elements. I am not using it myself really to build complete finished projects. And I feel like there's kind of a lack of conversation about this. Like, heckfire, I have what I wrote for the prompt for this is tin type texture, and I built it at a landscape 4:3. And I kept doing this until I got different ones I liked. So, for example, I like the square look also. Again, can use on my phone, put it on the gal or put it on whatever shot, and then take it back into Lightroom, crop it, and adjust it. So look at these cool little metal plates. And when you've created a texture in Firefly, you can download it, you can copy a link, you can copy the image. Oh, you can edit it in Adobe Express. And I'm not sure if we're going to have time to do that in this segment, but you can also do this in Adobe Express, which will control blend modes. You can control your blend mode in Adobe Express. You can submit to Firefly Gallery or save to your library. So these are really important that you have all these options.
Well, I'll give you the 25-minute warning.
Okay, great. We're 25 already?
25. We'll
My
be done in 25.
Goodness. All right. So listen, here's what we're going to make. We're going to modify this, but I want you to see it before we're done. A PNG supports transparency. So that's why you're not saving it as a JPEG or a TIFF or a PSD file. If you want to use it in Lightroom and you want it to be transparent, it has to be saved out as a Photoshop PNG. And the whole idea is the transparency. Okay. So let me get out of here and let's go to Photoshop. So this is once again where well, actually, let's go to Firefly real quick. I'm just going to show you. I want to pause here for just a second because I want to talk a little bit about control.
Okay.
Jesus and I work together a lot. We talk about items that you can do and techniques you can do. But Firefly is fluid. So you can type in the same prompt and hit refresh or generate, and you can get completely different images. So this is really important to know because if you're trying to stay consistent, you may have some trouble here. You got to be really conscious of what you're trying to do. These are really cool elements. I'm going to go ahead and take this one here, and I'm going to tap download. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to Photoshop. Do you think I need to show more of Firefly? Because I feel like Firefly is pretty straightforward. Should I maybe show access real quick?
Well, I mean, yeah, why don't we show how you would create an overlay?
Yeah, let's just start. I forget, again, I forget sometimes that folks haven't maybe necessarily done this. So I'm going to go text to image.
Well, before we do that, if you want to get here, you got to go to firefly.adobe.com. Firefly.adobe.com.
It's sometimes the basics. Thanks for keeping me straight here. Okay, so firefly.adobe.com. Hopefully y'all have been in here. And do you see most of these are full images, right? But who says it has to be a full image? I'm going to just type in tin type texture. Tin type texture.
And it'll take us a few minutes, few seconds, hopefully not too long.
Yeah. Oh, and listen, let me tell you, for those of you who are more advanced Photoshop users, and Mika's in the chat, also, I know he's an advanced user, you can use Firefly to create skin texture and use it in frequency separation.
Ooh.
What? Yes, Firefly for textures, for overlays, not just full images. So there you go. I have a different one. And then I want to let you know the aspect ratio. You may want to do a widescreen. You may want to do a different ratio depending on your pictures. So that 3 a.m. I was talking about. Oh, and Sean Duggan's in the chat.
Sean.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining us. He's an amazeballs photographer. All right. So let's say you want this kind of ratio. So for me and my workflow, what I tend to do is I will generate a ton of images, and I will put them in a texture folder and come back to it later. So I don't do just one and then get out of Firefly. I do a ton. And then download them into a folder and then experiment with them. So let's try, well, heck fire. Let's try this one, right? Isn't that pretty?
I think that's very pretty.
All right, so we're going to download this. Notice the ratio, right? You got to figure out if the ratio is going to work for your image or not. And so now I'm going to go to Photoshop because I love Photoshop. I've been using Photoshop for a very, very
What was the first
very
version
long
you
time.
used?
Oh, 2?
Oh, wow. Before
Yeah,
layers.
before layers, 100% before layers, yeah.
Wow.
So this is going to be in my download folder, and I'm going to take the last one.
Before you continue, let us know in the chat what version you started with.
Yes.
I technically use Photoshop 6. That was my first time using it, but I didn't really start using it until version 7.
Okay, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to rotate my image counterclockwise. Okay.
Here we go.
Here's my image. Let me just hit F so it's not so confusing. And then I'm going to double tap on the background to make it a layer. And I'm going to hit Command T to transform. And I'm going to hold the Shift key because I think I want a different ratio now. Okay, we're just playing here, right? No big deal. And I'm going to just crop this image. None of what I'm showing you right now is really important. This is just me making up a different image. All right. So do you remember I said PNG? I said PNG. In order to be a PNG, it's got to be transparent. Here is how I want to make this transparent. I'm going to double tap to the right of the name and get my layer options up. And Jesus, do you know you're the one who taught me this?
Really?
Blend if sliders.
Ooh.
Jesús Ramirez taught me blend if sliders and completely changed my life. So on the current layer, if I take the whites from the current layer and I slide them back, look what happens. I'm saying, hey, Photoshop, can you delete or mask out those white pixels?
Yep.
Now I'm going to hold the Option key and split that triangle. I hope you guys can see that. So I can now make a semi-transparent layer. Now, depending on the picture, you got to think ahead. Like if you're doing a tintype, but you have a main subject, chances are that middle part, I'm going to want to have transparent because it's going to obfuscate my photo. So I'm going to go ahead and put a layer mask on that and take a paintbrush. And I'm doing this on a trackpad, so bear with me. I'm just going to willy-nilly erase out some of this stuff. Now, I have to save this as a PNG. And what I like to do is just my habit. I make a new blank layer and I hold the Shift key, select both layers, and Command E. That is now a masked out, flat, transparent layer. And then I'm gonna go ahead and let the bleed be around it, and I'm gonna save this as a PNG. So Command Shift S on a Mac, and PNG down here at the bottom, and I'm just gonna put it for giggles' sake. I have to put it. Pause.
We're pausing.
I have to put this where I can access it on this phone. Where is that? For me, Lisa Carney, that happens to be on my iCloud drive. And you can see what I have. I have a folder called Logos and Graphics for Lightroom. And I have a folder called Borders, and I'm put it there. And I'm going to just call it Firefly Tintype Texture. I kind of like to keep my names where I got the file, so that in hindsight, if I need to access it, I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. I'm going to leave it large file size, and then I'm going to hit F to get out of here, and I want to close up some windows so you can actually see what the heck is going on. I did save that to my desktop, did I not? Huh.
Don't see it.
I don't see it. Let's try that again. Oh, maybe I'm a dork.
Yeah. Well, while you're finding it, a lot of people in the chat are responding to their first version of Photoshop. Micah on YouTube is saying Photoshop 2 was the first version of Photoshop.
Old school. We're old. No school like the old
Sean
school.
as well. Sean Dugan as well. Photoshop version 2 before layers.
Yeah. He was probably in the beta team, for Pete's sake.
Maybe.
Right?
I don't know. Were you, Sean? Ryan started in 98. What version was that? 98. So I'm guessing that was probably version 5 or 6.
I didn't even think Ryan was that old. Good Lord, honey. Well done, my friend. All right. So I have, I know where I put it. I put it where I was supposed to put it, which is the iCloud drive. Sorry, I get a little nervous.
No worries.
Listen, I do want to call attention to one fact here, which is the file size. The file size has to be 5 megabytes.
Okay.
Hear me loud and clear.
Or under.
5 megabytes or under. So
Okay.
that file, I just did a Command I, and that file is slightly too big.
Okay.
So I'm going to double tap on that again, and I'm going to see if just cropping it might get it closer to the 5. I can also reduce the resolution.
Ryan says, I'm 46.
Oh, honey, you aged well. I can say that because I actually know him.
Oh, wow. Sean was in the beta in version 4.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh, okay. I knew Sean would be in the beta.
Jeez.
All right. So I'm going to go back to my logos and graphics, and I'm going to resave that PNG because see how it's 5.1? It might not have liked that. Let's see if I got it down a little. Let's replace that. Okay.
I didn't get in the beta until like Photoshop, whatever, CC 2014,
I don't want to
15.
talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. All right. So let's do this. Let's go back to an image here. I'm going to go to my edit. Let's go back to my gal, the original gal. Okay. And let's go walk through adding this texture. Let me, so again, the texture was made in Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm export as, right? The share button, the little sending button. Export as. It's got to be a TIFF or JPEG. You cannot do it on a DNG. Cannot do it on a DNG. Watermark, customize. And then it's going to do whatever the last one was. So see, it's still there, the last one. Tap on the plus sign, upper right-hand corner, right? You're with me. Everyone's with me. Everyone's happy. Navigate to where you put it. You can also put this on your camera roll if that works for you. I like to keep it on my iCloud because I can use it from anywhere. And then I just have to remember what the name was. And I did the Firefly. Did I mention we're on the internet here and it's got to upload?
And is your
Syncing.
phone connected to the Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you see on the bottom it says syncing to the cloud,
Yeah.
iCloud? It's taking a couple minutes. I want to stall here for just a second.
Well, we'll stall by reading this comment. Oliver says that he started with Photoshop Elements version 1 or 2, and then moved to the full version of Photoshop in 2014. So did anybody else start with Photoshop Elements? I gotta be honest,
I've never used it.
I've never used Elements.
Yeah.
I've opened it, but I never really used it.
Well, you know what I like about Elements is it's a soft way to get into the program.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So let me see if I can real quickly transfer this to my phone via a separate way.
Okay. Well, another thing, if you're starting out, I don't know if, I don't know, to be quite honest. I haven't opened up Elements recently, so I don't know what it has or doesn't have. But another great resource for people who are just starting out is Photoshop on the web. It's got a lot of the great editing features that Photoshop has, including Generative Fill. So for that reason alone, I would start with Photoshop on the web if I were new to Photoshop.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about Photoshop on the web. I'm going to try to walk and talk at the same time. This is a good time to talk about how, crap, I can't do it. I'm sorry. Trying new things.
Right.
So, Heckfire, you guys, I'm just going to do a different tin type to show you.
Yep.
I apologize that I can't show you this right now. I'm sure it's just user error on my part. Checking out new things. So, Jesus and I talked about this. The remove tool in Photoshop, the remove tool, I'm going to show it to you real quick. The remove tool here used to be poop. Used to be. It is amazing. I use it on every single job I do now. Every single job I do. And what it takes is you have to go back and double check. Like, do you remember when the magic wand sucked?
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, the magic wand sucked when it first came out. I'm sorry, it was just the technology, but everything's progressing now. And you can do these amazing things now with the magic wand or the remove tool, but you have to go back and check. So on that same note, things like Firefly, boy, everything's waiting, sorry you guys. Things like Firefly, those tin type things I was typing, when I first tried this in Firefly, maybe 3 versions ago, I didn't like what I got. But now, because I'm going back, I like what I see. So while that is...
And now we're on Firefly Image 2, which is the new engine behind it.
Yeah, do you know when that released?
Adobe Max, I believe.
October, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to the next thing if it's not
Yeah,
loading?
I think I'm going to give up on this. Yeah, I'm going to give up on this. So now the other thing I wanted to show you, and again, the spirit of collaboration is, Jesus showed me this the other day. Like, you can actually generate an image now. If you haven't been in Firefly for a while, I can upload an image. So do you see how it says image upload? I can actually go to, I'm going to go ahead and find my file. My upload file. So I can actually upload that picture and do some texturing here. So this is, again, I really want to talk about trying these things out. These are, Firefly is fluid and changing, so it's going to get better and better. But you can actually import your own picture, paint out, add or subtract, like go to these brushes. These are the brush settings. Pick a big brush, a middle brush, brush opacity, and you can brush out. I'm doing this with the trackpad if I haven't mentioned that 500 times now. So I'm doing this willy-nilly little brush out. I'm going to go back and change the opacity a little bit more and do it lighter. I have no idea what we're going to get. I'm going to be really honest here. I want to be really clear. I'm not sure what we're going to get. And inside that, I'm going to say tin type texture. And let's just see what we get. Okay? And I'm going to show you another window on here in just a second.
Yeah, nothing feels longer than waiting for something to generate when you're on a live stream.
Yes, it's the demo gods. So do you see what the texture did? It did these. It's not quite as strong. But how do you control the opacity or the strength or the intensity of the fill? I'm going to hit cancel. And do you guys see it's right next to my shoulder? Actually, can you flip us to the other side for a sec? But it's right there. It's like that hand thing. I'm so sorry. Which side? Do you see the little edit button here in the bottom right next to the generate button? I call it the hamburger. Look what you can do. You can say, hey, preserve the original and how much generation content goes to the prompt. So I'm just going to do something willy-nilly here and flip them and hit generate, and let's see what we can do. This is really exciting to me. Now, I want to be really clear. If you're doing this for a job, it's really hard to control this. So it's still pretty subtle. I think I like what happened in Lightroom a little better, but let's go back to those sliders and see if we can pull back on the original and increase the prompt. So I want to say, while this is the most amazing technology coming, right now this is still fluid. So if it were me and I was doing a job or even a personal project, I might experiment and mood board this way. But chances are what I'm going to do is do the individual plate and do that on my phone, because I can control that. I control the opacity, the intensity, the ratio, all of that. I mean, it's still pretty cool. Still pretty interesting. I wonder if I should try that watercolor thing real quick.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and you might want to just paint it all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's do this. I'm going to hit clear, and then I can paint with the paintbrush. I'm going to change the settings.
Probably the opacity as
well.
All the
Yeah,
way
exactly
through.
right. And let's just heckfire. Let's just see what we get. I'm
There we
going to
go.
paint the holy heck out of this.
By the way, for those of you that are Photoshop users, the same keyboard shortcuts work on Firefly. So the bracket keys to make the brush larger and smaller.
Yep. Look at that.
Yep.
I really appreciate that Adobe does that, so that you don't have to keep relearning new stuff. And then I got to tell you, I can't help myself. It's the masker in me. I do a lighter version around the side because I don't want Firefly to create a weird body or anything like that. And what should we try? Watercolor of girl in lake?
Yeah, sure. And then you might want to, I don't know if we changed the intensity on that little.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Let's go back. So just hit cancel,
hit cancel.
But it keeps the painting. You don't have to redo it. I love that. Do you call that being sticky?
Yeah.
Let's just see what we get.
Yeah, and this is the thing about this feature. You have to play around with the sliders until you get something that works. And it's not always exactly like the same formula for everything. So you kind of have to play around. But
look how fun that is.
Yeah.
And then who's to say you can't take this into Lightroom and put other stuff on top of it?
Well, you know what this reminds me of? You can export this file. You can even save it to a library and then take it into Photoshop and use a gradient map to map out colors. So, like the white can now be yellow and the dark colors can now be blue or whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can get really sophisticated with this. And I'm going to tell you, this is where I get a little tight on time, because how much experimenting do I get to do and how much time? So I will tell you what I do with Firefly, and it might be just the way my ADD brain works. I do one of these and I do a capture of the setting before I hit generate. And then I save out the file, and I have this like weird little grid at home where it's actually images and then their settings, images and their settings, images and their settings, so that when I come back to it, I know what to set something at. As Jesus said, you can edit in Adobe Express, you can submit to Firefly, or you can copy image. And
Well, if you hit keep, the blue button that says keep down here,
yep.
hit that button, keep. And I think at this point now it applies that effect, and now you can share it. Otherwise,
Oh, I thought you could share anyway. You're probably right.
Yeah.
I hadn't done that. And then if I'm not mistaken, can't I go back in and do
Yep,
more on top?
you can do more on top.
What?
Yep.
So this is why I do those screen grabs.
Mm-hmm.
Screen grabs can be your best friend. I'm just going to tell you, they absolutely can be your best friend too, because I can't be the only one that doesn't remember these, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm really curious what people are finding Firefly, what kind of uses. Like, have you guys started using it for elements?
Yeah, Elements is probably what I use it the most for.
Yeah, and I don't think people are talking about that enough. Like clouds, Jesus and I work together on a bunch of movie posters, and it's really cool to be able to, oh, I need a sun flare.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I need rain. Oh, I need stars.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
All right, let's see what we get.
Too bad I don't have a demo for it, but something I've used it for is generated like a rim light, because you can generate like a rim light around here and then composite that into like the, comp you're working with. And then
Right.
you have like a really realistic, edge rim light of like someone's head or something like that.
Right. Rim light. Some of that rim light stuff's kind of hard. In fact, can we talk a minute about going into Photoshop and how to fix some of these things?
4 minutes.
We have only 4 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, man. Okay. So 4 minutes? What? All
Goes
right.
by fast.
It does go by fast. So please look how cool this texture is. Made in Firefly, adjusted in Photoshop, saved as a PNG. You may have to trust me. You'll get it on your device. I apologize for the gods. I want to just go back to my presentation here for 1 second.
Yeah.
Please try this out. Listen, with the blur, because I like to be totally candid, we said this is beta, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that sometimes the hair edges, like my hair edges with that blur filter, very, very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Very difficult. So I take this into Photoshop and use Gen Fill and select around the edges, write nothing in the prompt, and hit return, hit generate, and it'll clean up the hair edges if it missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's another total pro tip. I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. If you are on your phone, if you downloaded Lightroom and you can't see the lens blur, it's because it's early access and you might need to turn it on. So this is how you turn it on. You tap on the hamburger on the upper right-hand side, the little white hamburger. You tap App Settings and you go to Early Access and make sure you turn it on there. So please try it. It's so cool. Again, I'm using it quite a bit. And look, you can make some really cool different textures, add it to portraits, add it to all
cool.
kinds of stuff.
Oh, is
right?
that John?
It is John. Yeah. You can do hard frames. And again, customize. I know I'm beating this horse, but the biggest question people send to me is, how did you do this?
Right.
And it's because it's like 5 different steps. I want to make sure you know what it is. Text to image or generative fill. So we showed you the text to image is where you type in tintype.
Mm-hmm.
And the generative fill is where you import a photo and put it on top for that. So this, I think I could show you real quickly some of the ones I did. So this is pretty subtle, but it's cool. This looks a little more Sally Mann-esque. I can't believe I'd say that because Sally Mann is the queen of wet plate printing. But look how cool that tree with the ghosted tree. I think that looks really beautiful. There's another one I did here, which I did watercolor painting over Little Girl in Lake. And again, I want to remind you, you want to hit that little
Little doohickey.
doohickey to get the settings. Doohickey, professional term.
That's another.
And look,
yep.
you can make some pretty fun stuff. And again, experimenting. And all this you can do lying down in your bed. Like, okay, I want to try some stuff. All right. So we went to Photoshop. I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless anyone has any other questions. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
done.
we have about 30 seconds. So, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We're gonna be
Such a
right
spaz.
back. We're gonna switch seats, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
just run through a whole bunch of Photoshop tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Lisa, where can people find you?
LisaCarney.com. I have retouching classes. I have free materials you can download.
Wait, so
those
we can
tintypes.
learn from you.
What?
Yeah. So LisaCarney.com, and
Yeah.
there's courses on.
On Click Photo. You'll see it on my website.
All right, so
And
Lisa Carney.
please, you guys experiment. Right?
Experiment.
You don't have to use the programs the way they come out of the can. You can
Definitely.
get really creative, right?
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We'll be right back in like 5 minutes. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Hey gang, Lisa Carney here with my dear good friend Jesús Ramirez, partner
everybody.
in crime as it were, and we're here to talk about 25 must-know Photoshop tips. Jesús is the king of doing things fast and easy.
I don't know about easy, but fast.
Well, yeah,
definitely.
good point. And
Maybe I overcomplicate things. I don't know.
No, I don't. Well, you might on some
Maybe.
occasion. I have to tell you, I'm about 2024 for me is all about collaboration, and Jesús is one of my absolute all-time favorite people to work with and collaborate with because you know so much. And I will, do you remember I would actually call him, I'm in the car driving and I'm like, I have a job and I'm trying to figure out a system or a method to do this job. And in 30 seconds, it comes out with a great system. Do you remember that? Yeah.
I remember that.
So
I remember because I pace. I'm a pacer. What I mean by that is if somebody calls me on the phone, I can't just sit still. I start walking. So I live in a 3-story house, so like just going up down to the basement, then all the way back up, and then just like going all over the place trying to like figure out the answer to your question. I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do that.
Well, and you know, so speaking of collaboration, here's how I feel. I feel like this is a collaboration.
Yes.
Us being here at Adobe Live and us talking about how we actually do our jobs and techniques. And I found out this little trick you can do in Lightroom, for example. And Jesús is one of the kings, as I've already said, about finding out these tips and tricks. So thank you for joining us so we can talk about some new methods of getting stuff done, right?
Yeah. it's
Collaborate.
just- so like the whole point of this stream is different tools, different techniques, even shortcuts that hopefully would save you some time or you didn't know were there. It's just an extra. I'm trying to provide you different tools that you can use in your creative workflow, and hopefully they will save you time or help you achieve better results faster. So that's the whole point of this next hour or so.
Yeah.
I know that the segment is titled 25. I'm sure it'll be a lot more than 25.
Knowing you.
So we just needed a number. But yeah, so usually I talk fast. So if I say something too fast and you don't know what I mean, please leave a question in the chat. Lisa will interrupt me and say, hey, stop. There's a question in the chat. And I'll be happy to answer it for you guys. But yeah, so really quick, like 2 seconds. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jesús Ramirez. You can take a photo, that QR code. It'll take you to my website and all that fun stuff. Most people know me from my YouTube channel, the Photoshop training channel, where I have about 2 million subscribers, and I teach Photoshop. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, you can see expanded versions of that in my YouTube channel.
I'm going to jump in here for a second and
please.
tell people, if you have a few minutes and you're just waiting, or if you're at a doctor's office, this is the channel you want to go to just kind of casually scroll, because you put stuff up there that I'm like, wait, what's he talking about? And then it's some crazy cool technique that never even occurred to me. And I find that just digesting it, like you read People magazine or something like that, right? Just, what's Jesús saying today? Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
I read TMZ, but no, just
you
joking,
probably do.
I don't. Yeah, and actually I do commercial work as well, and a lot of the work that, as you mentioned earlier, we collaborate on a lot of work.
Yeah.
These are not collaborations with you, but I've done a lot of movie posters and TV posters with you, and that's where a lot of the techniques that I'm going to show today come into play, because we don't have a lot of time to be messing around with things. We need to know like what the fastest way to select the layer is, what the fastest way of reducing the intensity of something is, and only because time is money, and you don't. If you could spend 5 minutes or an hour, you rather spend 5 minutes, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing I want to impart about Jesús's techniques is he understands flexibility.
Yes.
So he understands, especially if you're working in an open workflow. What I mean by that is we do jobs for studios and we have to give them to other people, and they're going to do breakdowns. You can't have flat files. They have to be flexible, and your techniques are always representative of that.
Yep. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I have a bunch of PSDs here, and I didn't want to forget a lot of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. So I even brought a notebook, which is very unusual for me. Lisa will tell you.
Yes.
Just because there's so many keyboard shortcuts and so many things that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't want to forget that. So,
I like the new you.
Yeah.
2024, the year of the notebook.
The year of the notebook is after I do my demos and presentations, I always think, oh, I forgot to say this, and anyway, so there's no particular order here. If you tune in at any minute, you can pick right up and continue watching, because most of these are going to be short, a minute, 5 minutes at most. But yeah, let's get started.
Woohoo!
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, it's something that's actually quite simple. I mean, in this image here, we have this person that's up against our canvas, but you can't really see the canvas because the background color is very similar. So we can change the color of that. How can you change the color of it? Well, you can right click on the canvas and select a different one, like, black or whatever other color, or you can select a custom color, change it, and then that will be your new canvas color. A lot of people know that, but it's much faster to just use the keyboard shortcut, right? Because you can, if you start here, oh, I can't really see the background. Well, hold spacebar and the F key. Spacebar and the F key, F for Frank, and it switches right over. So
I did not know that.
So you can toggle those. Default is the darkest one in this mode, and then you can switch to the other ones super fast.
In particular, for folks who shoot gallery shooting and you shoot on gray seamless corporate shooting, that would be a great technique.
Yeah.
100%.
Super, super cool. So besides canvas color, another thing is UI color. So you can switch, I gotta switch, I gotta use my function key. I'm on my laptop.
Presentation laptop.
Yeah, I'm on my presentation laptop. At home, with a full-size desktop, I don't have to worry about pressing the function key to access the F1 through, 12 keys. However, in a laptop like I am now, you do have to hold down the function key. So if you hold function, shift, and F1, it makes the interface darker. Shift F1 darker and F2 brighter. See that? So you can quickly switch the interface colors. If you don't want to forget keyboard shortcuts, then don't, if you don't want to remember keyboard shortcuts, then you don't have to worry about keyboard shortcuts. You can access all of this without keyboard shortcuts, but in my opinion, it's faster to just remember the ones that you use often.
And I'll tell you how I started, because he is definitely a keyboard shortcut dude. I have a printout by my computer, and then I highlight them to try to implement. I try to do 1 or 2 a week, and then I highlight the next one to start, and the next one. So print it out and put it by your computer, and you can just look over.
I'm smiling at a comment. Jacob, who's running the show here, he's saying, waiting for the day Jesus switched to a Mac.
Well,
I'm a Windows person. I've always been Windows. It's going to be very
Not for
difficult for me to
long.
switching. Well, I do have Macs. Like, it's not that I don't have a Mac. I have an Android, as I showed in the previous stream, but I actually have an iPhone as well. But it's not my primary phone.
Yeah.
And my primary computers are all PCs, but I also have a Mac.
Yeah. And I have the opposite. I have a iPhone is my primary, and my Google phone is secondary.
Absolutely. We were talking about keyboard shortcuts. If you don't want to remember how to change the interface color, you can press Control-K on Windows. That's Command-K on a Mac. And from interface, you can just click on these guys and then do all of that. But again, that takes a lot of time to get on here. If you don't remember the keyboard shortcut for preferences, you have to go into Edit, Preferences, and choose Interface.
Interface, yes.
So it's all of that. By the way, this is actually one of the few differences with Mac and Windows. On a Mac, the preferences panel is not under Edit; it's on the little Photoshop drop down. So that's the one of the few differences between Mac and PCs with Photoshop. Also, not super important or relevant, but fun. If you hold Control, Alt, and Shift and click on one of these swatches, they turn into coffee cups, and you click on them again, and they turn into toast. So there you go.
I want the coffee.
You want the coffee? All right, let's do coffee. What do these icons do? Nothing. They're fun. It just seems to me that Adobe engineers are starving and hungry because all the Easter eggs that I know about in Photoshop are food related.
Or they know we are sitting at this table the whole time and we need a break.
Yeah. And talking about Easter eggs, another one of my favorites is with the 3-dot icon here. You can go into Edit Toolbar, hold Shift, click on Done, and that adds a banana to the toolbar. And I like having a banana in my toolbar, so that's going to stay there. But if you want to remove it, you can hold the Alt key on Windows. That's the Option key on the Mac as you click on the Done button. So yeah, super fun stuff, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. And while Jesus is talking about these tips, why would you do quick keys? What's the point? Well, time is money, right? And you don't have to be always going up and move and pull this window down, but work faster, smarter, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to close these files because we don't need them, right? Like, why do we need them for? Let's see, clone source. All right, so the clone source, everybody knows about cloning, right? I assume everybody knows about cloning. From the toolbar, we have this amazing tool called the clone stamp tool, right? And the way that this works is you need to set a sample source to... and by the way, something just happened that I was like, wait, why can't I see my preview, the caps lock key? So if the caps lock key
the caps lock.
If the caps lock key isn't on, if you can't see the preview of the brush, is because the caps lock key is enabled.
Yeah.
I was telling Lisa a story this morning, I think, that when I was first starting out in Photoshop, I uninstalled it several times because I couldn't get my brush preview back, and I didn't know that the caps lock key was the reason.
It's the equivalent of the is it plugged in problem for your printer.
Exactly.
Yes.
Anyway, so clone stamp tool. You can hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac to sample a source, and then you can paint, right? You can, make a duplicate of your little doggy here. So now we have a duplicate, right? But something else that you may not know is that when you paint, you can actually rotate the clone source by using keyboard shortcuts, which is something that not a lot of people know. So if you hold Shift and Alt, that's Shift and Option on the Mac, and use the greater than and less than keys, the same keys as the comma and period in North American keyboards. That's something I should make very obvious, that I'm using a North American keyboard, and keyboards in other countries may be a little bit different. So the keyboard shortcuts may be different. Unfortunately, I don't know the shortcuts for every type of keyboard. I only know the North American version. So for North America, Alt, Shift, and then the bracket keys to rotate. So see how it's rotating the clone source? So now when I paint a dog that is rotated. Also, again, I'm going to try to rotate it back to like its original state or something close to it. You see the preview rotating. I'm actually going to sample it again, and then I'll rotate it again. If you use the bracket keys next to the letter P in North American keyboards, once again, so Alt, Shift, bracket keys, you can scale it down. So I'm scaling the dog down, and then of course I can come in here and just paint them back in. So now I was able to take pixels from one area, paint them in another area, but scale them and rotate them as needed. So this could be really, really beneficial when doing a lot of the work that we do, because we have to take from one area of the image and replace it in another. And a lot of times you want specific pixels. I know people might be thinking, oh, well, you can just do gen fill. Yes, you might be able to do gen fill, but in some cases we need specific pixels.
So I want to point out something, because we have some finishers and high-end retouchers in the chat. So hi, Joe. I see you there. Joe is asking if you ever use the pattern clone tool. But before you answer that, I want to tell you on a high-res image, so Ryan, this might help you as well. This is great for skin texture, fabric fold. So I've used this rotate clone for fabric folds when I had to thin someone down and change the patterning. And why this versus gen fill is sometimes the file size is so big. So there's a pixel count issue with gen fill. So this is a great technique for movie posters, that kind of thing. And do you ever use the pattern clone?
Not much.
I don't, because you get a step and repeat.
Yeah.
That's why,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a situation where I would use it and I don't. But let us know in the chat how it works for you. Maybe there's something I haven't thought about and it might be great to know.
Yeah. So this is a great, this is like collaborating and thinking outside the box. So he's showing you some dogs. Now, chances are I don't need this for dogs, but do I need it for wallpaper for a job? Do I need it for skin texture or fabric? Yes, I do.
Absolutely. Now, how do you reset all of this? Well, you can go into Window and choose clone source, and you get this panel here, and you can see the rotation I did. You see that? It's right here, negative 1.5 degrees, and I can rotate it more, rotate it less.
Did you notice he had the scrubby?
Yeah, the scrubby, that's right.
It's a great little tip too.
Yeah, the scrubby. And also here's another tip, and like I said, it's going to be more than 25 tips. When you hover over an input box, over the label, you can click and drag to use what's known as a scrubby, as Lisa pointed out. But a lot of times, if you want to be precise, you just go too fast. Like, it's just like, I'm not quite getting to 1 point or 10.1 where I want to be. Well, hold the Alt key on Windows, Option on the Mac, and then you slow it down. See that?
Did not know that.
See how you slow it down? Super precise now.
Yeah.
So I can get it to that 10.1 number that I really wanted. Also, if you use the Shift key, it goes by larger increments. In this case, I believe is 10, but it depends on the input box.
I'm going to make a recommendation. This is what I had to do with a lot of Jesus's content, is I rewatch this, which you can do later, and I try everything. I try it once. Every single action he does, just so that my hands get it, because your memory will pick it up if your hands have done it.
Absolutely. So the reason we came into this panel is so that we can reset everything. So this icon right here, when you click on it, it resets the clone source. Notice that the width and height are back to 100% and the angle is to 0. One thing very important about this panel is that you get 5 clone source samples. So for example, we can create a new layer, click on the dog again, so we just have 1 clone source there, and then we can come here to number 2, and then maybe we'll do his paw or something, and then we can paint that in. But if we want to go back to his head, we can click on the original clone source and start painting that in. Now here's something that not a lot of people know. In the healing brush tool, if I'm not mistaken, wait, not the healing brush tool, which one is the one that needs a... See, I don't even remember it because I rarely use it now. Yeah, the healing brush tool. That's the one that requires a source, right? Yeah. The healing brush tool, you can click to sample a source and then you can paint. You can also use let me do a sample all layer so we can see the healing brush tool work. There we go. Healing brush tool. There we go. With the healing brush tool, just like the clone source tool, you need to set a sample source.
Yep.
And you can set a sample source by holding Alt and Windows, Option in the Mac, and clicking to set your source, and then you can paint over your image, and the Heal tool will blend those 2 areas together. And with the Spot Healing Brush tool, you could also use all these tools that we just talked about, including the clone source points, the 5 of them, and the rotation, angle, and all of that.
Yeah.
So
Marcia, I know she found out the where the clone source is, but any of those panels you see are under the window menu.
Yes, any panel, pretty much any panel, will be under the window menu. I can't think of one that's not at the moment, but there might be like a random one that's not on there, but most of them are there. So clone source and the keyboard shortcuts for cloning, I highly recommend that you use them because you never know when you might not. Sometimes a perfect 1-to-1 clone is not what you need. Sometimes it might be like just a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger for it to be perfect. And this is a fast way of doing it
100%.
Rather than, the alternative would be to, I'm going to show you another keyboard shortcut. If you have a layer selected and you just press Control J, it just duplicates that into a new layer, but it still keeps it on the old one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like if I would have just cloned that in, right, and I needed it to be smaller, well then I would just like do a transformation and then just make it smaller, right? You can definitely do that, but in my opinion, it's faster if you already, make it small and paint it in without having to make it smaller, readjust it to fit the scene, and maybe make it smaller again. Not to say that when you clone it the other way, you can't do this. In my opinion, it just saves you some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, really great for pattern stuff. If you have to extend grass and wallpaper, that kind of thing, and file size is an issue and GenFill won't work.
Absolutely. All right. So now we're going to look at some retouching tools. So one of my favorite retouching tools is the Spot Healing Brush tool. It allows you to, basically remove like wrinkles and blemishes. Whoops. Did I click on the wrong thing? So what happened here is when it's telling me that there's no source pixels. The reason there's no source pixels is because I don't have sample all layers checked. Right. So when I have that checked, Photoshop will treat this as a single layer, not as multiple layers, and then I can remove a wrinkle. But I don't know about you, Lisa. I don't like to just remove wrinkles for no good reason. I feel that if it's part of a person's face, it's okay to maybe lower it a bit, but not remove it.
Yes.
If it's like a pimple that you're just gonna have for a week, get rid of it. That's not part of them. It's just there for that one day or whatever. So how do you minimize wrinkles? You can, of course, remove them with the Spot Healing Brush tool and use opacity to bring it down. You can certainly do that if you like. Another option is to change the blending mode to light. Oh, it depends, right? In this case, lighten. Why? Because the wrinkle itself is dark, but I don't want to lose the detail, like the highlight right below it. So I can change the blending mode to lighten to only target the pixels that are darker than the pixels I created. Therefore, it leaves the brighter pixels, the bottom part, the highlight of the wrinkle. And then at that point, I can reduce the opacity to get something that looks more realistic, but not distracting like the original wrinkle. Now, you can do all of that like I just did there with layers and blending modes. But another thing that you can do is do it all in a single layer. By the way, here's another keyboard shortcut. So right now, I deleted the original layer that I had there. It was a layer that I took the time to name before coming on the stream. So instead of doing undo a bunch of times, what I'm going to do is hold the F12 key to revert the image back to the last time it was saved or how it looked when it was first opened. And you can do that by going into File, and it's somewhere in here. I don't ever use the drop-down menu, so
Right.
It's trust me. There you go, revert right there.
Yeah. I did
Revert.
not know that
F12.
F12 was the key for that.
There you go.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
it goes back to the last time it was saved or the
Yeah.
last time it was, or how it looked when it was open. In other words, if you open something, make changes, and don't save it in that time frame, then it will go back to how it looked when it was first opened. Anyway, so the other way of doing this is, we have a regular layer here, and we have these modes here in the drop-down of that spot healing brush tool. The only ones I really use are darken and lighten, and the way I think about it is this. Is the blemish or the extraction I'm trying to remove darker or brighter than the skin tone?
Yeah.
In this case, it's darker, so I want to lighten it,
Yeah.
right?
And also, I'm going to just point as a
Yep.
beauty retoucher is what I do primarily for my business. What Jesus is showing you is so good because it's less likely for you to over retouch.
Yes.
It makes things look a little more natural.
Absolutely. And now I can click and drag, and it'll basically do what it did earlier, right?
Right.
But now it did it without applying a blending mode here, right? Another thing is, earlier I reduced the opacity to reduce the intensity, but you don't have to do that. You can also bring up the fade command. So if you press Control-Shift-F, that's Command-Shift-F on the Mac, you bring up the fade command. The fade command allows you to reduce the intensity, and in some cases, change the blending mode of the last adjustment you made. In this case, I cannot change the blending mode, but I can reduce the opacity. So you can see how now I can just adjust the intensity of that wrinkle so that I don't over retouch it, right? So whatever number that is. Now, the key thing about the fade command is that it, as I mentioned, it only works immediately after you apply something. If you do anything else, including saving, this will not work. It will not come up because the fade command, again, I cannot reiterate this enough, only works immediately after you apply a change. So we'll say 46 for now, and we'll call that good, right? The advantage of doing it this way is that I'm still with the normal blending mode, and I'm still have the opacity at 100%, and now I can continue working at another area and repeat the entire same process all over again. Control-Shift-F, and then reduce the intensity, and move on to the next area. If you don't want to remember the keyboard shortcut, the drop down for fade is under the edit menu, and it'll say fade and then the name of whatever adjustment you made, and you can reduce the opacity.
Excellent.
And in some cases, the blending mode.
So I want to call out something that Jesus
Yeah.
is showing you, and I think this is really important and why Adobe Live is so amazing for this kind of thing. There are 5 different ways of doing exactly what Jesus is talking about with different tools, but they work differently. So the tool he is showing you, you can use the fade. If you use the remove tool, the fade is not an option
good
you
point.
can use.
That's a very good
and I
point.
think this is why it's so good that you guys are here learning these different techniques, and then you try them and you put them in your toolkit.
Yeah.
And then someday you're going to want to use the remove tool, someday you're going to want to use the spot heal tool. And this is why you're flexible with your job. So this is great.
And
Really
that's
great
so I
information.
love the remove tool, but that's one of my biggest gripes
well.
with it. Yeah, that you cannot
No
use
fade.
the fade tool, the fade command. So with the remove tool, I'm going to click and drag, and it's going to, probably remove that wrinkle. We'll see. And it's a little slower too.
Yes, it is a little slow.
So-
It is a great tool, but as Jesus just said, you can't use the fade. So then if you've done all this remove stuff, then you have to reduce the opacity of the whole layer, and you might not want that. And so it's
And
just
most
a different
importantly, it's
workflow.
slower.
It's a different workflow.
And then, no fade command, so I didn't like the result as much. So even though it's great for some things, it's not the best thing for everything.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, for maybe even this little...
Crosshairs, it's amazing, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. All of these are great tools. Just like a PC and a Mac are great. It's not either or, it's and.
Absolutely.
Right?
And all right. Okay. That did a terrible
Yeah.
job there. Usually it does a much better job.
Yeah.
But anyway, so fade command and the different modes with the spot healing brush tool, I would highly recommend that you play with them.
And practice, right?
Or in practice.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that the real reason why I like using this tool is because I don't destroy the original texture in an image. For example, I don't know how well it's going to do under this area here, and I'll do it in a new layer just to make sure that there's nothing there. But like if I want to just reduce the darkness in that area, notice how it still kept the highlights, right?
Yeah.
And then by going into the fade command, I could have used a shortcut as well, of course. But I'm being lazy because my other hand is on my knee and I didn't want to move it up to the keyboard. But the point is notice that the brighter pixels were not affected by that. So now I can reduce the intensity and still keep that same original skin texture. And that looks a lot more realistic than, me just doing like a blanket removal. And I'll even show you what that looks like. If I go to normal here and then just create, that same adjustment, I'm going to see how I got rid of all the brighter pixels there, and it doesn't look as realistic.
It looks terrible.
Yeah, so it's much better if I would have, kept the brighter ones at least.
These are the little tips to make your images look better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We should have a class where we do the 10 different ways of removing eye bags, and we just do a back and forth and show every tool
and
possible.
See, the thing is like, it all depends on the output, right? Because if I was working like, if this was a character that I'm working on, but on my photo he's like that small, does it really matter? Probably not, right? But if he's the main character and this is all you're going to see, then it matters a lot more, right?
Yeah, I'd like to, Marcia's got a question about, is this as good as frequency separation? I think this opens up a good dialogue. It's different tools for different jobs, and frequency separation we use all the time, but it's cumbersome and it takes more time, and that's on a bigger, higher res image, I would say. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
And this would be faster? These are great questions. When do you use frequency separation? When do you use this technique?
See, the way I would answer that, Marcia, is for what? Is that as good as the frequency separation for what? Like, frequency separation, at the end of the day, probably can do everything when it comes to skin retouching. I know, there might be some argument about that, but for the sake of argument, we'll say that it's probably one of the best methods you can use to skin retouch, but it takes so much more time to set it up. It takes so much time to get it ready, and at the end of the day, for a specific thing, it might not be worth the time.
Right. What's your final destination?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And these are great questions, because you have to evaluate your time versus your money. Is your client paying? How big is it going to be shown? Is it on a phone only? Is it on social?
Well, I mean, if I was only focusing on this wrinkle, there's no way I would do frequency separation. Like, this is so much easier, faster. Better, maybe not. I don't know. Equally good.
Yeah. Do you have a go-to? Like, if I gave you that job, I said, "Hey, Jesus, I need that guy retouched." What tool would you start with?
This guy, to quite frank with you, this guy, the way this photo is now, it's a stock photo, right? So it's already retouched to a degree. So I probably would do spot healing brush tool. And this, like a couple flyaway hairs here, a couple wrinkles here, a couple wrinkles there, reducing the intensity, not removing them.
Yes.
Then
I will tell you, my go-to is remove tool. I start with the remove tool, and if that doesn't work, I move to spot heal tool, and then I move to frequency separation. Is he right? Is he wrong? Am I right? None of us are right. It's whatever works for you.
Yeah, it's funny, but I would also say frequency separation at the end.
Yeah.
Only because it takes more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not because it's worse. It's the time
Agreed.
aspect of it. But ultimately, I think it's probably
it's
better.
It's a good conversation, because I think this is what, when you're working at home alone, you're like, whoa, which tool? What do I do? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting feature, right? In Photoshop, we all know that you can make, whatever adjustment. You can make this adjustment, you can create a new layer, and then you can select the color and, paint with red or whatever color you want, right? Like, we make adjustments. But what if I want to know exactly what I did? Like, how can I keep track of this? Well, Photoshop actually keeps track of everything you do. And if you go into Window, in history, you probably have seen these before. These are the history steps. Basically, every time you hit undo, you go back a history step. So undo, see how I just went back one brush stroke. I'll undo again, new layer, undo again, modify curves, undo again, create the curves adjustment layer. And then I can just click on these as well. So that's great and all, but there's a problem. The biggest problem is that I don't know what adjustments I really made here. All I know is that I modify the curve. That's all I know, but I don't know exactly what I did. Also, I know that I used the brush tool, but I don't know what color or anything. So even though this is keeping track, it's giving me very little information. And even if this information was enough for my needs, I can't like copy and paste it or export it. So how can I get Photoshop to give me a file of everything I did? Well, it's actually a way of doing that. And the way that, and I'm just going to delete these layers just so that, just so I can recreate them in a moment. But if you press Control K on Windows, Command K on the Mac to bring up the preferences panel, and this is one of those keyboard shortcuts I would just commit to memory because you use the preference panel often. And by the way, another tip, since this is a newer laptop, I haven't used it to % yet. I hadn't checked the use legacy free transform. So I like using the shift key to free transform. So I'm going to click on that now. And what I was saying is when you press once you press Control K, Command K to go into the Preferences panel, you can go into this History and Content Credentials option. From here, there's this thing called the History Log. The History Log allows you to save all those steps that you make with the settings that you make to the metadata of the image, or more importantly, a text file, or both. So on this Adobe Live folder, I'm just gonna save this Photoshop edit log, click on Save, and I'm gonna choose detailed because I want Photoshop to give me a detailed log of everything I do, not just the number of sessions, not just something concise like the history panel, but I want details.
Yeah.
I'm gonna press OK once I do that. And now Photoshop will have this file that is recording everything I do. So I'm just gonna go into curves and make an adjustment, create another layer, and paint with red. Now let me open up that folder, which I believe is here, and there's my Photoshop log, edit log file that I just made. When I open that up, look what I get.
Yeah.
Curves, exactly the values that I entered. So all that information is there. So I highly recommend to use the history log if you really want to keep track of everything that you do. Why do you want to do that? It could just be for educational purposes. It could be for legal reasons to prove how you did something, when you did something, or it could just be something that your client might require for some reason.
I'm going to put my future cap on. I can imagine there may be somewhere in the world where AI will be able to access that information if you have a series you want to do. So let's say we're doing a character cell when we do these movie posters and you've got 10 images and you need the exact same treatment. Doesn't exist yet,
Right.
but that might be an interesting technological use in the future. We have a new guest in the room, Mattia. Buonasera. I guess she's from Italy. Ciao, bienvenuto. Who knows? Yeah, a lot of people are saying these are good points. This is... I didn't know about the history log, and I got to tell you, I got 20 years on him in Photoshop, and this is how we learn from each other. It's so
20
cool.
years?
Yeah, well, I started when I was 2. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're basically the same age. Lisa.
Yeah. So, yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
You could have babysat me in high school.
I don't want to talk about it.
That only puts you like 15 years
Oh,
ahead.
zitto. Stai zitto. Non posso credere. I can speak Italian. Only Mattia will know what I'm saying to him, which is
I know,
not
right?
very polite.
Yeah, so we're now going to talk about, whoopsie daisy.
I see type.
Yeah, type. So one of the most annoying things about creating type, for me at least, is when I create a paragraph and I get these hyphenations, the hyphens here. See that? How the words are not completed.
Yeah.
And like, you know, obviously what you don't want to do is come in here and then create a line break, you know, just to fix it, because then you'll create more problems down the line. So how can we remove hyphenation? Well, here's a keyboard shortcut for you. You double click on the text thumbnail to select the entire text, and then you press Shift Control Alt H, and it removes them. Shift Control H, Shift Control H.
Shift Control H.
Shift Control H. There we go. And you can use the same keyboard shortcut to bring them back. It's just a little shortcut there that I think is very beneficial, just because it's annoying when you paste a line of text and then you have those hyphens.
So Valerie in the chat was mentioning that she had a professor who was learning Photoshop and that they rewatch your videos. You can rewatch this, which is the most amazing part. You can go back on Adobe Live and see all kinds of older content and relearn this. Like I have to say, I just leave it on. I get up to work and my Adobe Live is on and it just plays.
Yeah, and like I think Valerie's the comment that you're reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Valerie, I asked my professor how you remember all these things. He mentioned about people rewatching their videos.
Oh, there, I read yours.
So,
okay.
Yeah. No, so that's true, because it's happened to me so many times where I'm working on a project and I'm like, oh, how do you do this? And I'm like, oh, I wrote not only is it like, oh, I wrote the article, it's like the article on Adobe's website. So I'm looking at Adobe's website and it's an article that I wrote and I just forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, I have you know what a tutorial really helped me was your layer knockout tutorial. And I forget things all the time. Like how much can your poor little brain hold, right? But I know my resources.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's that blend slider again? Oh, Jesus has got something on that.
This is why I have a notebook now at my advanced stage. This is the first time I've ever used a notebook on any present, because I just remember everything.
Adulting here.
Yeah,
Notebook.
I'm in my 40s. I had a stroke 3 years ago. Like my brain can't take any more information.
Yeah. We're not commenting.
Yeah. No comment. All right, let's move on to the
I'm
next.
curious in the chat. Tell me your guys' favorite Jesus tip that you've gotten.
Watch Lisa Carney at lisacarney.com.
Oh,
All right. So let's talk a little bit about masking and selection, rather, making selections. So, we all know about the rectangular marquee tool. You might know that if you hold Shift, you can add to a selection. So now I have 2 selections. And then you also might know that you can hold Alt or Option on the Mac and subtract from a selection, right? Everybody knows that, I assume. If not, you just learned it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I don't see a lot of people using is intersecting selections.
I don't use intersecting.
So then,
show me something.
let me show you what this means. So we have a selection, just made a selection, right? Now, as I mentioned, if you hold Shift, you can add to selection. And if you hold Alt or Option, you can subtract to a selection. What is intersect? Well, with intersect, if you hold Shift and Alt, you notice notice my selection icon. And when I hold Alt, it gets a minus.
Right.
When I hold Shift, it gets a plus. But if I hold those 2 keys at the same time, you'll see an X. What does the X do? Well,
X factor.
Oops, I accidentally hit something. But if I make a selection and I release, Photoshop will only keep the selection in the areas that I selected.
I did not know that.
And this is the cool thing.
Well done.
This is the cool thing. If you go into the elliptical marquee tool and I wanted to select the iris, well, I can make a selection of the eye, of course. By the way, another keyboard shortcut, you can hold the space bar and move the selection as you're making it. And then, you just get to the iris here. Now, Alt, Shift, click and drag, and now I can select the top part of the eye and bottom part of the eye here, and boom, I have the iris selected. And now I can come in here and make adjustments to the iris as I need to, all because I was able to select something very quickly.
Yeah.
Instead of, subtracting the top somehow or, I've seen people do things like this where, you will make the initial selection like I just did there. And then with something like the lasso tool, you hold Alt and you're, trying to trace the top.
Right, and you're all wobbly.
And then trying to trace the bottom, and there you go, Instead, you can quickly do something like this by holding the X key.
Yeah, that's a very
Illustrator.
Illustrator.
Not the X key. The Alt and Shift key, which gives you the X. Yeah.
Right. This is a very Illustrator way of doing selection.
Interesting. What does that mean?
Yeah, in Illustrator, this is a really common tool to use, which is great.
There you go.
Which is handy. Again, combining software.
Which is fab.
Ryan, by the way, said his favorite tip of yours is using selective color to blend the hue and color in compositing 2 images.
Oh, God.
Well done.
I don't even remember what I showed that, but thank you, Ryan. So I just realized that we're in 2024.
We are.
So I've been teaching for 12 years.
Wow.
So in that time frame, I've forgotten 95% of stuff I've talked about.
Well, and also it's all new too.
Yeah.
Like there's so much new. And I'm going to say if any time, now is the time to be paying attention to education because there are so many rapid changes going on in Photoshop and other Adobe apps. So you want to be coming back to Adobe Live often.
Absolutely. So I just hit undo a bunch of times until we got back to that selection. And another important key that I don't see a lot of people using is the Q key when you have a selection active, which is the quick mask mode. The quick mask mode allows you to make selections. In this case, by default, the red overlay indicates areas that are not selected, and the original color of the image indicates the areas that are selected. You can definitely change that by double-clicking on the quick mask icon here, and I can change it to have the selected areas shown as red or a different color. So that's why I specify that by default this is what you should see.
Good.
One of the advantages of using that quick mask mode is that you can just use the brush tool and paint, right? So I'm just going to paint with white, keyboard shortcut. The X key swaps the foreground and background color. The D key makes the default foreground and background color to black and white. But anyway, so if I paint with white and then press the Q key again, then you can see that I have a selection here. This is also very beneficial because once we're in the quick mask mode, we can use filters. So I can go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I can blur my selection here. So now when I create a mask, I have a soft edge around that. I don't have a sharp edge.
I can already tell for me, number 1 tip of the day.
Okay.
Now I knew this, but like Jesus was mentioning before, you just forget. Like, oh, of course you can use filters on Quick Mask. And this come in play if you guys have watched Jesus' tutorial on Generative Fill. Quick Mask is making a resurgence because it is very, very, very handy.
Yeah, and you know what? There's an old school way, and somebody's gonna, call it out in the chat here, to feather a selection. It's like and I rarely use it, but because I use this technique, and that's what I was gonna.
Yeah.
It's like buried in here. So there's actually a feather window that comes up when you have a selection active. When you have a selection active, it's under. I thought it was under select, but anyway, the point is there's a feather selection. And I cannot seem to find it right now. The point is that I don't use that anymore because I use the edit and quick mask
Because you
mode.
can do it in modify, but I don't think you.
You know what? It's killing me. I thought I had my phone with me because I have notes on like old notes that I can quickly find it, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. Yeah. Anyway,
isn't it we get this bone?
Yeah,
and we
it's
just
like,
need
I
it.
gotta
Like
find-
he's
'cause I
gonna
know-
wake up at 3 a.m. and go,
Oh, that's where it was. Yeah. Anyway, there's a way of getting into the old school feather selection window that I rarely use because I prefer this method. And the reason I prefer this method instead of that old method is that I get a visual representation of what's happening on screen. Whereas with the feather selection,
it's under modify, select, modify. If I'm thinking what you're thinking. Select, modify. There you go.
Yeah, feather. You go.
Is that
There
what
you
you
go.
meant?
That's
Yeah, and
what I
there is
meant.
that quick key for it.
Yeah. So then there's a quick key, right? There's a quick key for that. So select, modify. Thank you for showing me where that was. Shift F6,
Wade called it out.
Which I never use.
I don't use it either. I just do
Why?
blur. Yeah.
Because it's the same thing as blurring, right?
Exactly
so,
right.
But I don't know what 5 means. What does 5 mean?
Yeah.
What does 10 pixels mean with this selection? I have no idea.
Well,
right?
especially because you don't know what size the photo is.
Right, exactly.
Like there's, yeah.
So I have no idea. So then, like this is no use to me. So the alternative is to press Q, filter, blur, exactly the same thing, and now I know what 5 is. Now I know what
and you
10
can,
is.
it's live. You see
it's
it
live.
live.
You can see it. See that?
Yeah.
There you go. There
I'm
it
with you
is.
on this one, hon.
So, and actually, here's another one. I wasn't planning on showing this one, but since we're talking about it, and I don't even have a picture for it, but I will find a picture for it. Let me just find the photo here really, really quick. Right here. All I need is like.
You've got a lot of photos.
I got a lot of photos. Oh, this guy will work. So, if we go into, if we create a select subject selection, right? There you go. Select subject. We all know, I hope, if not, then you'll learn it, that you can go into select, modify, and contract, right? To contract the mask or the selection, and we can do 5. Again, what does 5 look like?
Right.
What does 7 look like? I don't know. Like,
what's the pixel count in this photo?
Like,
You don't
who knows,
know. Yeah.
right? Like, who knows what that looks like? Well, press the Q key, and a filter that you taught me. If you go into filter, other, minimum, you can reduce, you can see that now, right? Yeah. Now you can see what 10 looks like. Yeah. You can see what 25 looks like. You can adjust it as much as you need, and there you go. It's showing live on screen. I can press OK, press the Q key again, and there is my
This is a great
selection.
filter. So again, it's filter other. How many of you have gone under filter other? Like hardly anybody. There's some hidden treasures in there.
So the problem with that filter is this. If you just are, because I did this, I'm sure a lot of people have done this, I'm sure you've done it, you just literally click on every filter and see what happens, right? When you get to filter other and you hit minimum or maximum, basically the same thing, you get that weird effect and you're like, oh, I don't like this filter. This filter is terrible. Well, that's not what this filter is for. This filter is used for a mask.
It is.
So then when you have the remove background, I'll click on the remove background button, we'll have a mask, and now I can go into filter, other, and choose minimum. This is going to contract that mask, and it's going to do it in just a second here. There we go. So we're contracting.
Make it round.
Yeah, Oh yeah, very good point, Lisa. So there's 2 options, squareness and roundness. Squareness only gives you whole numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What if you want 2.5? Well, you can't do that. If you type 2.5, it won't allow you to do it. You need a whole number. But if you change it to roundness, it allows you to be more precise, and now you can do 2.5, and that gives you much rounded edges, as the drop-down indicates. But that's what this filter is meant to do. It's meant to contract and expand the mask, but you can also use it in a quick mask, and the output will be a selection, not a mask.
Fantastic. That's a great filter. Use it for compositing. I will tell you one use for minimum or maximum on a pixel layer. So if you're doing I'm going to tell you something here. So if you're doing a composite and you're trying to blur and you cut my hair out and I get that green around my hair, if you take a copy layer and you do the maximum, it'll blur it, and then you clip it and you paint it in just on the edges.
Got it. Yep.
Little pro tip for somebody who does a lot of compositing.
Yeah, so I don't know if it'll work with this image, but basically you're saying do a remove background, and then on the hair here, there might be some fringing, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll create a new layer.
It's just a good tip for compositing.
Yeah.
So Marcy B was saying, I've gone there, but not for this. This would have helped me just the other day. I have to tell you, whenever I watch tutorials, it's always the day after a huge job. And I'm like, oh, I wish I knew that. However, because you went through the pain of that job, you will remember that tip now. You will remember.
Trying to get it to work. But anyway, I haven't tried that, so I'll figure it out.
Yeah, and then you have to mask it in. Yeah.
And then I'll come back.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a little obscure,
tidbit.
but it's a good tip.
Awesome. Let's go to the next one. What do I have here? We talked about hyphenation. Okay, cool. Math. Oh man, I hate math. So yeah, Photoshop actually can do math.
Yeah, this was life-changing for me when you showed me this.
On almost every input box. And so for example, we have the word Paris here as a text layer. And you know, this happens often. Like somebody will come to you and say, make that, you know, half the size or a third of the size or like what, and you're like, oh God, I don't want to do the math. So you can just divide it, right? So we'll make it easy. Half, we'll divide by 2, hit enter, and then that makes it half the size. So you can do math in input boxes. Or maybe, you know, maybe you have, we'll do something super simple, right? So 200 points, and then we can say something like plus 100, and that'll be 300.
Yeah.
So you can do math in these input boxes, and you can do more complex math. For example, I know I have that file here. Let me just find it.
I'm going to tell you where this helped me with Jesus. I used to do Command T and transform all the time and then try to write down the number and not do whole numbers like this. And then we do campaigns. So we'll have the same type on 15 different files. Once you have this, then you just go in and type it in and bada bing, you're done.
Bada bing,
Great
bada boom.
tip. Yeah.
So here we go. So I'm going to show like 2 or 3 tips in one. So if you press Control T, Command T to transform, and then you have to enable this for some reason. I don't like it that by default Photoshop disabled the reference point. Now I have to click on this.
Makes me crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what they did for some good reason, I'm sure. You can click and drag the reference point down to the middle of this coin, which is also the middle of the document, and then I can rotate this, right? I'm going to rotate it. There you go. There you go. It's rotated a certain amount of degrees. I don't know how many. But the point is that I can press Control-Alt-Shift-T and Photoshop will rotate it again in that same amount of degrees. And if I press Control-Alt-Shift-T, which is Command-Option-Shift-T on the Mac, it keeps rotating it again in that same direction. And I'm just going to repeat it super fast now, right? But at some point, you realize that they're not evenly spaced out. And you're like, oh, that sucks. Like, how can I get, you know, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How can I get 9 evenly spaced out stars around this circle? Well, we can use math, but before I use math, I'm going to use the F12 key to revert back to my original image.
F12.
F12. So Control T to transform. I already have the reference point enabled, and I can bring my reference point to the center here. Try to be as precise as I can. We'll call that good for now. In the angle input box, I can do 360 because that's the number of degrees in a circle. And I can divide by, I think 9 is the number that we said.
Pay attention to this. Ryan, you want to watch this.
Yeah, number 9, hit enter, and it figures it out for me. So now, Control-Alt-Shift-T, and I can go around by tapping Control-Alt-Shift-T 8 times, and I get 9 evenly spaced out stars around my coin.
So why I want to call attention to this, Jesus and I have a partnership, and we work together doing a lot of movie posters. He is the king of backgrounds. And part of why you are the king of doing extensions is he understands things like this. Like if you have to recreate a room from scratch or wallpaper or do this, and we're doing it by hand and you don't know why it looks off, but because you know how to do this and that math, that little, Ryan, I'm telling you, that math little thing in the upper toolbox will change your life and it'll speed your workflow up crazy great.
Crazy great.
That's a new thing. Crazy great.
Crazy great.
Yeah, so, Marcia, you're going to dig that. That's a great tip.
Let's see, because I just looked at the time, so we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, I think we're down to 10 minutes.
All right, so this is just a simple one, but I think a lot of people need to know it because it helps out. It's probably not going to be the best example on a laptop. This is actually a better example if you're someone who works with multiple monitors. But something you can do, and I'm going to close these windows just to make it super obvious and super clear what we are doing here. So we have this image, right? And we're editing an image. And something you can do in Photoshop is go into Window, and at the very bottom, way at the bottom, Oh wait, it's not showing. Why isn't? Oh, did I miss it? I'm sorry, arrange. Sorry about that. I missed a step. Window. See, this is why I have notes now.
Yes.
Window, arrange, and at the very bottom we have new window 4, and then the name of the document that you're on.
Yeah.
So then that will open up the same document in 2 windows. This is not a separate document. This is exactly the same document, and you'll see why this is good.
This is great.
Then you can go into window, arrange, and I'll do 2 up vertical. Now, usually I wouldn't do 2 up vertical. I would just drag one document to like another monitor, and then I'll keep one document in one of the other monitors, right? And what I can do is I can like zoom in really, really close and then maybe do some like retouching. But then on the other window, it's zoomed out all the way so that I can see how my detail work affects my overall image without having to like, let me show you. So for example, if I was just removing things, right? I remove that little dot. Wait, how does that look on the overall image? Oh yeah, that looks good. Let me zoom back in.
Exactly.
You know what? Client doesn't want a ring. Okay, let me remove the ring. How does that look? Okay, let's see. Oh, that looks terrible. But I can see that this looks terrible here, but I can also see how it's affected on the overall image, right? And then now I probably would fix this, who knows, right? Like one of many different ways. I'm just gonna paint with black for now. But the point is that right now as I'm painting with black, you can see here that all those changes are being updated. So I can see how my detail work is affecting the overall image, and I don't have to keep zooming in and out, you know?
I would say for most people who, I gotta say, this is probably one of the top tips, and here's why. When you're doing design work for folks, and I know in our industry, we have big files that get put out, but then we get teeny little thumbnail files, and you don't look. And then all of a sudden you send it to the client, they're like, oh, it looks like bad masking because of the resolution. And working this way, you know in advance, this is a great production tool.
Right. And you know, for something silly like this, let me remove this like top part of the frame here, right? And there we go. See how it changes it immediately on?
Yeah, you make different design decisions.
Absolutely. And here's another keyboard shortcut. You can move both at the same time. If you hold the shift key and then hold the space bar, you can move both at the same time. Shift
and space bar. I did not know that.
There you go.
At the same time, like this. Yeah. Oh, Marcia, once again, I could have used this yesterday. Everything, I'm telling you, every demo is this way.
We should have come on yesterday.
Yeah.
Or the day before,
but
I guess.
It's like planting a tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best one? Today. So you're here today.
Yeah. All right. So now.
All right, we're down to 9 minutes.
No, 4.
Oh,
4 minutes.
sorry, 4.
Yeah.
Math? What?
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is show you one of my favorite tools in Photoshop, which is the Liquify filter, which allows you to do many things, right? You can adjust faces. You probably don't want to do any of this because I'm really against, adjusting people's faces and all that, but that's a different conversation. However, sometimes you get a client and the client has needs and you have to fulfill those needs. For example, maybe the client is saying something like, oh, we need you to like shape his hair a little bit, right? Make it more round, make it look a little, more upkept or whatever. And you know what? We don't like the wrinkle there or that like fold on the jacket, I should say. So let's minimize the fold, let's make it look a little more fitted, whatever it is, right? So you're making these adjustments, and that's what this tool does. And I don't know what happened to his face there.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, here's another keyboard shortcut. If you're working on something and then you realize, holy Christ, I don't know what I did here. I need to like fix this. Just hold the Alt key on Windows as the Option key on the Mac and click on Reset. And of course, it didn't work. It should reset this.
Because it's just too funny.
It's just too funny. So I'm just going to cancel it because it's bothering me.
Aww.
It really doesn't matter, but it bothers me. It's freaking me out, Lisa. It's freaking me out.
All right.
The point is that once you make an adjustment, sometimes you make it a little heavy-handed, right? You might accidentally move his hair. And like, oh my God, that looks terrible. Like, how do I fix that? 2 ways of fixing that from the Liquify filter. Number 1 is we have the Reconstruct button here. You can click on Reconstruct, and then you can just reduce it. The downside is we're adjusting the left side. I was happy with the left side. I only have a problem with the right side. So like this is not the best option for that.
Yeah.
So how can I reduce this? Well, with the same tool that does that, you can hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and it just reduces it. It reverts it right back. So you can revert only the areas that you need, and then you can continue adjusting or reverting as needed. So now we have.
Also, I want to mention, because this is a great tip you have, that Reconstruct slider. Sometimes when I do body shaping and I'm not sure how far to go because I really don't want to go too far, that's a great way of like being able to visualize it. It's kind of like seeing the blur where you can see it live. So instead of me doing it and then taking it off, doing it and taking it off, you can actually scan.
Absolutely.
It's a great tip.
And also, since we only have a couple minutes, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite keys, and I like to call it the whoopsie daisy key. The whoopsie daisy key. So what is the whoopsie daisy key? Well, do sometimes you're in Photoshop and you're like doing a million things, and then something comes up and you're like, whoa, what is that? Whoopsie daisy, escape key. It goes away. You're in the crop tool and you're like trying to make something happen, and oh, that's terrible. How do I get out of here? Whoopsie daisy key.
Yep.
Escape key. Even so, when you first start when you first start Photoshop, what do you see? You see this screen, and I'm not a big fan of it, and I should be, because actually some of my stuff is here. If you go to the very first,
wait, go
that
back.
one's mine.
There you go.
That one's mine.
Yay!
So I made that tutorials inside of Photoshop, but like still. Anyway, so I show up on, or not me, but like I open up the interface, and this is the first thing I see, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to see that. Escape key. Whoopsie daisy. Escape key. Just gets
I did not know that.
It gets me right out. Yeah.
I know it does
Yeah.
it for the tools and whatnot.
No,
Excellent.
It just gets me right out. And also, since I have like one more minute, the last thing I'll show.
Come on, one more.
Last thing I'll show. I need like one photo. This guy's gonna have to do, because that's all I have. So a lot of you know that you can use keyboard shortcuts to select tools, right? So you can select like the Z key for the zoom tool, the M key for the marquee tool, the B key for the brush tool, right? But what if you're using like the brush tool, right? You're painting with the brush tool. I'll paint with white so you can see it. So I'm painting with the brush tool, but then I want to rotate my canvas. Well, you can do a spring-loaded keyboard shortcut, which means you'll switch to that keyboard shortcut temporarily. So I'm going to hold the R key, click and drag to rotate. I'm still holding the R key. I'm not releasing, but when I release, it'll go back into the brush tool, and I can continue painting. That's the spring-loaded keyboard shortcut. By the way, how do you reset this weird tilt that we did with the rotate view thing? Whoopsie daisy, escape key, and it brings it right back. Also,
Great
one
for
last
painting
thing.
hair, by the way.
The other thing is, if you press Control K, Command K on the Mac to go into the Preferences panel, somewhere in here under Tools, you'll see the timing sensitivity for the spring-loaded keyboard shortcut. So you can adjust how long you have to hold it for it to take place.
That's fantastic.
200 milliseconds to be
That
exact.
rotate, that R, best for painting hair.
Yeah.
I mean, hands down, best tip for painting hair. This was amazing.
Yeah.
Honey. You're so generous with your information.
Thank you. And with that, we're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
We did all right, I think.
I think so.
Mister?
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you thought, what your favorite technique
Yeah.
was. Make sure you follow Lisa at lisacarney.com.
And Jesus at Photoshop Training Channel.
That's
and
right.
rewatch this. Try these exercises
Yes.
out, because your hand wants to do the gesture, and then you'll remember it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye.